again, if you've been taking in my content on Facebook, it's something I talk about a lot. I've been talking about it for years, and all of the guys that I'm going to show you examples of today have been using this exact strategy to get the results that they're getting. And one of the first and probably most important parts of that process has been making sure that they understand the power of Facebook groups. So I'm going to explain that to you today, show you where to find them, why you should be in them, etc., etc. I'm also going to go over the high demand areas specifically for rent to rent. So again, for those of you who haven't joined one of my masterclasses before and maybe haven't even really taken in my content fully, so you know that I deal with deal sourcing, but you don't know specifically what I do. So I'm focusing specifically on rent to rent. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about why a little bit later. But we specifically focus on rent to rent. So we're going to be looking at the high demand areas for that particular niche. And it's going to be based strictly on the investor demand, right? So, of course, if you was an investor that was looking for a rent to rent deal, you're going to be focusing on the tenant demand or the guest demand, right? You're going to be wanting to know what the occupancy rates are, etc. But as a deal sourcer, our client is the investor. So we need to see exactly which areas are in high demand in terms of what the investors are looking for. So I'm going to, again, explain that in more detail for you a little bit later. We're also going to go over the qualified investor list, which for me is the backbone of your deal sourcing business. You probably see me on Facebook ranting about it all the time. You know, people attempting to get into this business and struggling to sell deals because they haven't taken the time to try and build a qualified investor list, right? Which will make your life 10 times easier. But we're going to go over that in more detail as we work our way through, as well as your network. Again, I think this is something that people just undervalue. I don't understand why, but really, really important. And a lot of the examples I'm going to show you today are people who have co-sourced, right? We call it co-sourcing, i.e. they've worked with other co-sourcers to get a deal done, and they've ended up like splitting the fee, etc. The same thing goes for working with letting agents. So again, of course, letting agents are dealing with landlords directly every day. So those relationships are really, really important. So again, I'm going to walk you through why that's important, how to find them, etc., what to say. We're also going to go over the direct to landlord deals. So as much as it's hugely valuable to be able to sell co-sources deals and kind of do the majority of your business based on the network providing the deals for you, I think it's also important to at least know how to secure deals yourself directly from the landlord. Because of course, if you're building a qualified investor list the way I'm about to show you, and you're securing deals directly from landlords, you sell those deals to that list and you walk away with the full £3,000 fee, or actually in some cases a little bit more than £3,000, right? We're seeing now that actually investors are paying a little bit more than what they were paying only a year or so ago, right? So again, very important. And how to operate this business 100% remotely, which again is something that people reach out to me about all the time. And kind of like, how are you guys selling all of these deals without, physically going and seeing them? And again, I've been for a little bit of backstory for those who don't know. Again, for the people who haven't joined my masterclass before, I've been in this business about 13 years altogether, mainly as a deal sourcer, as an investor, and as an estate agent for about 2 years in earlier on in my career. So I've got a lot of knowledge in this business, and I know a lot of the tips and tricks, and just probably a little bit more than the people who maybe haven't been in the business as long and don't have as much experience. So being able to source these deals remotely, i.e., I'm not viewing any of these properties myself. I'm not meeting the landlord. I'm not meeting the investor. I'm not meeting the sourcer. I can literally transact these deals from wherever I am. So I could be on holiday in Dubai. I could be at home sitting on the sofa. I could be at a friend's house. I could be out at a restaurant. I could be wherever I want, and I can still make these deals happen because it doesn't depend on me physically being there. So I'm going to show you how that works as well, which of course is hugely powerful. And that's what we're going to be covering today, guys. So again, I can see more people have joined since I started speaking. Please, 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 for those of you who have just joined, make as much use as you can of the chat. So at the bottom of the screen, if you just click the little chat box, you can go in there and write a message to me. Let me know if you can hear me okay. You can see me okay. You can see the whiteboard in the background okay. And also, whether or not what I just explained makes sense. Is there anybody who's listening that is not sure what I'm talking about when I just broke down what we're going to go over today? I think it's very important that everybody's clear on everything as we work our way through. I'm not going to rush through this. It's probably going to be a few hours long. So I hope you guys have got your pens and pads and a cup of tea. So yeah, let me know in the chat, guys. Everyone can hear me okay, see me okay? Everybody's clear on what we're going to go over. Jordan said it makes sense. Brilliant. Cheers, Jordan. Okay. Getting a lot of messages from people asking how to get into the room, but you guys will manage to get in without any problem. So I know there isn't an issue. Everyone just needs to click the link and you will get straight in. Okay. Perfect. Robert said all good. Ashton, everything's clear. Blessing. Hi, Blessing. Rabbi, Mohammed. Linda said excited. Same here. Same here, Linda. Thank you so much for joining. Mo said yes, all clear. Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm going to assume everybody is on the same page. Everybody understands. Everybody can see everything okay and hear everything okay. So we'll keep going. And like I said, if there's any questions as I'm working my way through, please feel free to just chuck them in the chat. I will stop as I work my way through to make sure I'm not missing any, okay? Okay, perfect. Let's get an idea of who's in the room. So we have how many people? 14 people in the room right now. I'd love to get an idea of how things are going with your deal sourcing business. I think we should probably start there. This is what I'm going to be helping you with today. So it would be nice to know what your situation is currently. Have you even started? Are you someone who has started and is maybe struggling to sell some deals? Are you somebody who's started and actually has sold some deals but wants to scale? Which I actually had a conversation with a gentleman like that today. He's actually started selling some deals, but he's kind of hit a ceiling. He's not hitting the numbers that he would expect, although he's selling deals, right? And we had a good conversation today where I pointed out a few small things that he had missed. And I think that was why it was important for someone with a little bit more experience to have that conversation with him. So whether you're completely new, a complete newbie, not even too sure how this works at all, or you're somebody who's actually selling deals, making less than 10K per month, let's say, as an example. So you're selling maybe one deal a month, which is still good, not bad at all. That's more than the average wage. You're making like $3,000 a month, not bad at all. But of course, if you're not aware of the potential, you're going to see that actually, you should be hitting six figures a year with this business with no issues, on your own, not without, this is without even talking about building a team around it as well. So let me know in the chat, guys, where are you at with your deal sourcing business? What's the current status of your deal sourcing business? And let me see if I can give you some guidance up front before we get into the actual presentation properly. Okay, Rabbi said, I've come to a point where I've got investors chasing me, but not enough deals. Okay. So it's a good problem to have, Rabbi. I'll be honest with you, very good problem to have, because you know what? Actually, majority of deal sources out there, I mean, if you speak to them, they'll tell you, they seem to have the deals, but struggle to find the buyers that will buy them. That's usually what the problem is. But of course, some people have it the other way around as well. Everything has to align. Everything has to align, and what I'm gonna go through today, I speak about the foundations, right? So again, for those who have watched one of my masterclasses before, you would have seen me go through the presentation about the 6 foundations. And usually the reason why someone isn't hitting, those 10 to 20K plus, we've got people making more than 20K per month, is because either they don't have those 6 foundations in place at all, which most deal sources don't, or there's something missing. One of the foundations is missing or in the wrong order or whatever it is. So that's all it is, Rabbi. We just need to figure out what's missing in terms of your foundations and go from there. Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad you're joining the call because you're going to take a lot away from it. Okay, Ashton says, starting out wanting to sell my first deal. Okay, perfect. What I'm going to show you today, Ashton, literally you can get started on right away. Like I said at the start, guys, for those of you who've joined a little bit late, grab your notepads if you plan to actually leave this call with some actionable steps. This is a different kind of masterclass, guys. This is not just going to be me talking, kind of just giving you, I suppose, blanket information that you could just kind of like go out there and find anyway. I'm actually going to give you steps that you can follow to get things up and running. So yeah, take notes and of course fire away if there's any questions. But you're definitely on the right call, Ashton, 100%. Sue said, I'm looking for investors and deals. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to get both. And again, like I was just saying to Rabbi, it's less about just the deals and the investors. It's about all of the foundations. You know, there's of course those two things are very important, right? If you've got the deals and the investors, then you should be able to make it work. But there is other little things I think that make the pieces of the puzzle come together. So we're gonna go over those things today, and hopefully that will help you. Okay, and Linda said, I'm not. I'm going to assume that means you haven't started. Linda told me, I'm going to assume that means you haven't got started just yet, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Again, what I'm going to show you on this call, you'll be able to get started. Like, no exaggeration. You guys could start as I'm going through it. I've actually had masterclasses in the past where people have kind of like started to follow the steps in real time as I'm breaking them down. And they're literally saying to me, oh my God, Gary, I've got investors messaging me, or I've got this, or I've got that, or oh wow, I can see this, right? So yeah, you're definitely in the right place, Linda. And Mo said, I'm a new starter. Okay, Mo, welcome. I hope you take some value from the call. You definitely should, as long as you stay to the end. Robert said, just started in business with my wife. Okay, lovely. But we have a virtual assistant working with us to help source leads. Okay, brilliant. I don't know if you've seen inside the free group, Robert. I actually made a video probably about 3 weeks or so ago, where I broke down exactly how you can put together a good team of VAs. Only about 4 VAs, to be honest, you need to really scale this. And you can actually kind of have it operating 100% hands free if you wanted to. Of course, you know, like myself, for example, when I set up my VAs, I didn't give everything to them. There were still certain things that I kept hold of, but that was just me because I still wanted to be involved in certain things because I just didn't believe that the VAs would be able to do everything. But I think nowadays things have changed. VAs are much better. Like my VA that I've got right now is really, really good. Really good. It's based in the UK, so it's a little bit different than what I was doing before. I was using VAs from like Philippines and things like that, much cheaper. But I just found that the VAs that I'm using now, and I'm getting similar feedback from other people who are still using VAs now, that the quality is a bit better. So yeah, you can put together a really strong team and ramp this up. So if you've already got one in place, then you can kind of build that team around that one. So yeah, watch that video when you get a chance. If you can't find it, just shoot me a message and then I'll send it over to you on school. Okay, but well done for getting the VA involved in the first place. You're already thinking about scaling clearly, so very, very good. Okay, so that was Robert. Sorry, the comments have just flown up a second. Blessing said, I'm not anywhere too. Okay, Blessing. Like I said, for everyone who's on the call who's just literally starting out, don't worry. Everything I'm going to give you today, you're going to leave this call knowing exactly what to do. Literally. So yeah, don't you worry, you're in the right place. And Kathleen said, have investors looking for good deals. Okay, cool. Same thing. We're gonna talk about maybe what you need to put in place to create a flow of deals that you can start selling. Because if you've got the investors there, then literally that's it. You need the deals, right? For you guys who have qualified your investors properly and have got a decent amount of them on your list now, you'll know they're already chasing you. They're already asking, what have you got available, right? So you need to be feeding them. And I'm going to explain what you should be doing and why you should be doing it in a specific order to make that process a little bit quicker, right? So just keep listening in and we're going to go over everything in detail. Okay, Robert said we have a VA from the Philippines. He has worked in this field before. Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, even better. If you've got and this is the thing, if you've got a good VA, you've got to hold on to them because you probably know, Robert, they're like gold dust. They're not easy to find at all. I can't even tell you how many I've been through in my time. and like my team and things like that, the people that I'm around that use VAs as well, it's the exact same story all the time. Start off really good, might have a good couple of months from them, and then all of a sudden, for some strange reason, the quality starts to dip. Um, I believe that it's because usually they take you on, they start to do the work, and then they're taking on loads of other clients as well. Of course, because as you will know again, is that they're charging us next to nothing, right? A couple of dollars an hour. So you can just imagine how much business is coming their way of if they're advertising themselves properly. And now they're trying to juggle my work, your work, everybody else's work, and you can clearly see the difference over time. The quality starts to dip. But like I said, I think that's changed a little bit now. I think some of these VA companies have like structured themselves in a way where they're expecting to take on a lot of work so they can manage it. And of course, you have the UK VAs, which are a little bit more expensive, but at the end of the day, the quality's there, right? One of the issues that and I know I'm going on about the VAs, but I think this will help you guys as well, even just thinking into the future about scaling up. You don't necessarily need to use VAs right now, but after you've kind of like started to understand how the process works and you're getting results, you're selling deals, the money's coming in, you can start to put that team in place. So it's good for you to know. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that maybe a little bit later. But well done, Robert. That's really good. Who else have we got here? Okay, perfect. So, like I said, I think there's kind of like a mixture of experience in the room. So I think you'll all take value from what I'm going to show you, no matter what the position is. I'd love to know what your goals are for your deal sourcing business. I ask this question quite a lot nowadays because when I speak with people, I think sometimes people like to kind of chase the shiny thing, sometimes. Deal sourcing is blowing up because it's so low barrier to entry. Anybody can do it. It's very straightforward, and you don't need to put your own money in, to get things up and running and start to make good amounts of money. Um, so of course that attracts everyone, right? Everybody wants a piece of it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people are really interested in building a business out of it and doing it long term. For some people, it's just a quick in and out, make some money, and go off and do something else. But I'd love to know, about the people who are in here planning to actually scale this, take it to where we've got a lot of the guys in our program right now, where again, they've got six-figure businesses now. They're making significant incomes in comparison to where they started, which is, I would say, the same position as most of you guys, brand new. You might have had one or two that already was up and running, but again, nobody that was already doing those type of numbers. So yeah, tell me, guys. Let me know in the chat. Everyone's gone a little bit quiet. What's your goals? What are you aiming for? Why are you even interested in doing this? Why do you want to start your deal sourcing business? Give me an idea. It would be great to know. Linda said, travel more and earn whilst doing it. I love that. That's amazing. That's really good, Linda. And that's the thing. It's not necessarily just about the money, is it? It's the freedom it's going to give you, which for me personally is super important. I don't know how many people in here are parents, but I'm a parent, right? I've got boys. Again, if you follow me on Facebook, you've probably seen I've got boys, I've got a wife. So for me, being able to spend as much time as I can with my family and watch the boys grow up and things like that, and just have that freedom, have that flexibility to do whatever I want, really, is super important. And watching my guys start to have that same freedom as well has been really, really amazing to see, right? We have, for example, we had Charlie, who was just over in Florida not too long ago, had a nice holiday, had a good year, went on holiday with the family and sold a deal whilst he was out there as well. Same thing with a lady called Denise in the program, started selling deals. Again, was celebrating, went on holiday to Portugal, I think she was in. I think it was Portugal, and sold a deal while she was there. Crazy, right? So yeah, it's not just necessarily just about the money. I think it's the freedom that it can bring you as well. So it's really nice to see, Linda, and definitely you can do this. And I can't see why you wouldn't be able to do this. Who else have we got? Ashton. Ashton said sell a deal for 3K, then learn the process, then do 10K months. Okay, right. So you just need to sell one deal, Ashton, which I promise you is super straightforward. Once, of course, you know what you're doing. I think it's just like with anything, isn't it? You know, something that to one person looks very difficult, to the person who's mastered that thing, it's nothing. It's second nature. So for us, selling deals is second nature. You know, we're in the hundreds of deals sold now over the years. So, you know, but for someone who hasn't sold a deal yet, it's like, is it even real? How do you do it, etc., etc. So that's essentially what this masterclass is about, right? It's bridging that gap of you not knowing how to do it, whether it's real or not, and kind of taking you to the place where you know how to do it and you're doing it and you're getting the results. So now it's not just me saying it to you, it's not just me showing you other people doing it, you're experiencing it yourself. And then, like you said, you can scale it up to the 10K per month, which, by the way, guys, isn't a huge jump, right? If you can sell one deal a month, you can sell four. And if you do the math, you only need to sell about 4 deals to make 10K a month. So it is super straightforward. Rabbi said, help out parents and finally move out, which is amazing. I love things like that. Really, really good. I'm very close with my parents as well, so I know exactly what you mean. So really good, mate. And look, you're on your way already, right? Like I said, guys, for those of you who've joined the call after I started speaking, Rabbi has sold a deal, right? Only yesterday or the day before, I think it was, Rabbi. But you would have seen I put a post in the group about it. 3K, done it 100% remotely. Didn't have to go to he lives in London, the property's in Cardiff. Crazy, right? If he can do that, and it took him less than 4 days, if he can do that once, why couldn't he do it 4 times a month, right? And of course, like you said, Rabbi, with that type of money coming in, you're going to be able to help your loved ones and, you know, do certain things. And there's nothing better. There's no better feeling. 100%. So definitely a good goal to work towards. 100%. Okay. Linda said, then pass it on to others. Exactly. 100%. Jordan said, that's my main goal. I've got 3 kids, freedom. Exactly. I know exactly where your head's at, Jordan. Sue said, I want to go huge. I need to rebuild my life, travel, and help my children and grandchildren. I love that. Amazing. Amazing. These are real goals, guys. You know, nobody has said anything that to me I look at and think, okay, like these are real goals. They're serious. They're things that will change your situation, you know, if you can make them happen. So it's really good to see that these are the type of things that you're thinking about. It's not, like I said, it's not just about making the money. Of course, we want to make the money, but for me, it's more what the money can do, you know, and what you guys are talking about is exactly where your head should be at, to be honest. So that's really good to see. Rabbi, I've only just turned 20. Oh, wow. Amazing. Rabbi, I didn't know that. 21 years old, has just sold his first deal. Only took him 4 days using the steps that I'm going to give you guys today. He's literally used the strategy that I'm going to give you guys today. 21, I didn't realize you was 21, Rabbi. So well done. Even more of a huge congratulations. Absolutely smashed it. To be doing that so young as well is amazing. We've got a few young, early 21-year-olds, and we've got like Harry in the group. I think he was like 19 or 20 when he joined the program and smashing it, absolutely smashing it. So really good to see. Okay, Blessing said being financially independent, amazing, definitely doable, 100%. Robert said claiming back time and freedom, build a business and no longer need to work full time. Also want to be able to travel more. Exactly, yeah. So everybody seems to be pretty much on the same page, right? I'm going to show you those examples, some of those examples, like I mentioned earlier, just so you can see people that are who I would imagine had similar goals to you when they started and are now doing these things. They're traveling. People have quit their full-time jobs. You know, actually, the first person who joined this program, I don't know if you got, again, not sure how long you guys have been following me and how much you know about my backstory, but the first person who actually joined this program went on, sold their first deal in 4 weeks, within 4 weeks of working with me, and went on to quit their job, full-time job, within months, right? Because they understood the process. We were working together. He was put his head down. He was selling deals left, right, and center, making a significant income in comparison to his full-time wage. And it got to a stage where he was like, Gary, he literally contacted me and said, Gary, I think I'm ready to leave my job. you know, the money that I've been making over the past I think it maybe about 6 or 7 months. He's like, that money that I'm making is more than enough for me to do what I need to do. You know, I've already made what I would have made in a year months ago. So he went on to quit his job, you know, and then we had numerous people since then do exactly the same thing. But that was the first person to join the program. His name's Kieran. Again, I'm quite transparent on my Facebook, so you can go and have a scroll through and you'll see. But it's very doable. A few of you have mentioned, you know, wanting your time back and wanting to work full time, leave your full time job. Sorry, it's very realistic. There's nothing unrealistic about that at all. Genuinely, as long as you're willing to put the work in. Okay, let me quickly whiz through these and then let's get into it a little bit more. So Mo said, I want freedom and flexibility. Exactly. Definitely, Mo. Blessing said financial freedom. Rose, financial freedom, 10 to 12k per month. Okay. So if we look at what Rabbi, and this is, so again, you just heard 21-year-old, which I didn't even know. He's only just learned this strategy recently, and within less than a week, he's made 3k, right? Your goal is 12k. Let's say the top end 12k per month. So literally, you only need to sell 4 deals. If Rabbi can do it, you can do it. You just need to know how to do it. That's the only thing that's stopping you from doing it right now. It's just you don't know how. So hopefully, what I'm going to show you today will give you a little bit more information about that, and some inspiration as well, some motivation to go out there and actually do it. So, like I said, I'm not just going to give you the info. I want to show you some real case studies of people that are doing it up until right now. Right, no exaggeration. So, okay, perfect. Ravi, to ultimately build structure for my kid. This is my big why. Short term to quit my job and go full time in deal sourcing. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that everybody on the call seems to be on the same wavelength. That's really good to see. Okay, let's keep going, guys, because I know time's ticking and I don't want to hold you for too much longer than I need to. So, as I said, look, today I'm going to be giving you the exact same strategy that the guys are using to make 10k. Well, I mean, I say 10k, we have people making 20k in a month. We have people making 10k in a week. But, you know, to keep it uh I don't know what would be the best word to use, to not over exaggerate, right? We'll say 10k per month, right? Currently. So I'm going to show you a few examples. Again, as I work my way through, guys, please feel free to fire questions out, even if it's just to ask how did they do that, or you know, just whatever it is. If there's something that comes up on the screen and you're unsure what it means or how it works, please stop me. I'm more than happy to really go into detail about things so you can leave the call with as much value as possible. Okay, so we'll start off with my client Koran. So a member of the program. Just quickly before I carry on, actually, can everyone still see the screen okay, guys? Can you see I've got an example, a case study in the background, my client Koran, and there's 2 screenshots. Can everybody see that? Just give me a yes if you can see that, just before I keep going. Sue, brilliant. Okay. Rose says yes. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Okay. So this is my client Koran, a member of the 6-figure deal sourcer program. So Koran's actually been selling a lot of deals since joining the program. And this was just one that he's just sold recently, just a few weeks ago. And again, only took him 1 week to complete, similar to Rabbi. So, you know, started from scratch, complete newbie, was not deal sourcing, was working full time, and is now being able to bank 3k in a week. I'm going to show you some examples actually of where he made 10k in less than 2 weeks as well. These are the type of results people are getting starting from scratch, literally starting from scratch. So you can see here, this is where he was paid, payment received. He said another deal sold today. And it says, and I kind of reached out to him to congratulate him, and he said, "Thanks, Gary. All your knowledge going to work." Right. So really amazing to see. Someone says scroll down a bit. Okay, let me. Is that better? Just let me know again in the chat if that's all right. Can you see that? Well, guys, please don't try not to play with the screen because it does some weird stuff where it lets you change things. Look, I can see things have been moved already. Don't worry. But can everyone still see the screen okay? Let me move this back here. So you should see on the screen a screenshot of Quran's message talking about a deal that he's just sold. You should also see a screenshot of his payment coming in. It's £3,000. Everyone can see that? Okay, perfect. All right, brilliant. All right, no worries. Okay, so that's Quran. That's just one example of one of the guys in the program. We also have an example here of a gentleman named Shah. He's also a member of the program. You can see here, this was just about 2 weeks ago. He co-sourced on the deal, like I said to you guys. Um, Managed to build a really strong network after working with me, and of course, building his investor list first. And he's now selling deals. This is his third deal that he sold, as you can see here, third deal done, and he made 3K. This one took him a little bit longer than usual to do. It took him about 2 weeks, but only because there were a few things that needed to be changed in terms of the agreement. But usually, a deal will be taking 7 days maximum to be done. And then on the short term, you can literally get a deal done same day, which I'll actually show you some examples of that in a little while. Everyone can still see the screen okay? Just let me know in the chat, guys. And I know I can see someone said you have access to the screen. I have no idea why it lets you do that. I've tried to kind of take it off, but just help me out by not playing with the screen. The best thing to do is if you can't see it, just let me know and then I can either zoom in or zoom out just to make it easier for you. Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to assume everyone can still see it. Okay. Okay. I can see people saying yes. So this is Denise. Again, I think I've mentioned Denise earlier. So Denise only joined the program a few months ago. She is now hitting 5 to 10K months. This is her first 3 weeks of joining the program. And within 3 days, she was able to secure a deal and sell it to an investor on the investor list she built since working with me. You see here, she made 3K. And you can see this is the £3,000 coming into her account. So, the reason why I like to show the actual money being paid to these guys as well, by the way, just in case you're wondering, why is he kind of like showing the actual money? It's because sometimes I get messages from people asking whether genuinely people are paying £3,000 for these deals, right? They don't believe it, I suppose. And again, that's because they're not doing it, they're not seeing it happen. But it's happening. And what's funny is that actually this is kind of like the market rate for a rent to rent deal. So 3K to an investor that knows what they're talking about is very normal. If you're asking for a little bit more than that, the conversation might be a little bit different. But £3,000 is literally what we're selling deals for. And then, of course, on the odd occasion to get a deal sold quickly, you might give them a little discount. This is actually a good example right here. So after she sold her first deal within 3 weeks, and it only took her 3 days to get the deal done and dusted and be paid, only a week or so later, she went on to sell another deal, or another two deals, sorry, which you can see here. And, she said, look, Sunday fun day, 2 deals in 31 minutes. And this is the two payments coming in. So you've got one for 2,500. And that was because she just gave them a £500 discount just to kind of, because they took 2 deals, they kind of ended up giving them a little bit of a discount and negotiating. So 2,500 for one of the deals and 3K for the other one, which was really, really good. So just in the space of a week there, she's made, what's that, £5,500. And she's only a few weeks prior made 3K. So again, this is a lady who started from scratch. First time I spoke with Denise on our one-to-one strategy call, which by the way, guys, still offering the free one-to-one strategy calls where I can go through all of this with you on a more personal level. But I had one of those calls with Denise, and she was actually at work at the time, as it goes. And came on board, decided she wanted to work with me. And 3 weeks later, she sold her first deal. 5 weeks later, she's got almost, what's that? If we put all of that together, that's 6, 7, 8, almost 10K already in the space of less than 2 months. So really, really powerful. And again, all she has done is followed the strategy that I'm going to give you guys. Very straightforward. Hasn't had to invest any of her money. She didn't view any of these properties herself. She didn't meet these investors or meet these landlords. She literally just transacted these deals over the phone and via email, right? So very powerful once you know what you're doing. Let's move on to the next one. We also have my client Mahen, who actually joined the program similar time as Denise. I always remember these guys joining like maybe a few days apart and then selling their first deals literally only a few days apart. Again, he was only 3 weeks into the program when he sold his first deal, as you can see here. and banked £3,000. You can see Morning Gary, the investor, has paid. First milestone achieved. It took 3 weeks. Should have been sooner. I think he had high expectations of himself, which I thought was really good. And I said to him, look, if you just put your head down and do the work, there's no reason why you can't do it quicker than 4 weeks, which was actually what the goal was. Let me get the first deal sold within the first month. So he beat that, but I think he thought he maybe could have done it a bit quicker. But still amazing. So really, really good. That was Mahin. We also have Milani here. It's another example of actually another young gentleman, kind of like Rabbi, working full time, wanted to start his own business, was interested in property. And like I mentioned to you guys earlier, for me, deal sourcing is the easiest way to get into property and actually start making really good money, to be honest. Again, Milani, you can see here, sold this deal. It took him 1 week, gave the investor a little discount, sold it for 2,500. And again, literally done this without viewing the property. He actually sold this deal whilst he was at work, right? So was kind of like communicating with the sourcer and the investor and the landlord and everyone whilst at his full-time job, and managed to sell the deal and be paid 2,500. So really, really powerful. You can see here, this is saying, I couldn't have done it without you. We was literally in contact as he was transacting this deal. So it was really good to see. And someone who's starting from scratch, complete newbie, didn't know what to do. So to go from that to making pretty much the average wage in less than a week was amazing to see. I can see someone said the screen's not changing. Let me just double check. Is that happening for everyone? Can everyone still see the screen? Just let me know, guys. Kathleen said the screen changing for everyone? Just let me know in the chat if you can still see the screen. It's on Milani's case study. Can everyone see that? Jordan said yes. Linda said yes. Ashton said yes. Okay. Okay, Rabbi gave a little tip there, which I didn't even know, to be honest. If you click on my profile picture and click follow, I'm assuming maybe that helps some way, but some people are saying screen is not changing, but you have to scroll down to see. Okay, let me just scroll down and up a little bit so you guys can see. Hopefully you should be able to see it. Or what I'll do is I'm going to close the screen and I'm going to go back in, guys. Just give me 1 second. I appreciate your patience. Let's go back in. And we'll pick up where we left off. Just let me know if you can see it as soon as I get back in, guys. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Can everybody see that? Just let me know. It's back on the screen. You should see. Well, let me go back to where we was. Oh, Kathleen can see. Okay, perfect. All right, it's a little bit lower than it should be. So let me quickly scroll back up to where we was. So we was at Milani, wasn't we? Everyone can see Milani? Give me a thumbs up or a yes if you can see Milani on the screen. Yes, perfect. Okay, so as I said, that's Milani. Let's move on to the next case study. We have Kent and Karan. So as I mentioned, this is actually Karan from earlier who sold one of the other deals. He actually co-sourced with Kent. So both of them are mentees in the program. They put their heads together and managed to bank 10K in less than 2 weeks. And pretty much what it was is Kent found the deal. So he actually found the landlord in a group. Again, I'm going to talk to you guys about the power of using groups, but he found the landlord in a group, managed to jump on a call with them, secure 4 properties, which was amazing. 4 rent-to-rent HMOs they ended up being, and partnered up with Karan, who, by the way, he actually had sold deals with prior to this, these 4 deals, again, since they both joined the program. And Karan just happened to have a buyer on his list that was looking for deals in that part of town and ended up taking the deals, right? All in one go, 4 deals to 1 buyer. As you can see here, hopefully you guys can see the background. There's a screenshot here of the payment coming in. The first payment, anyway, it was 7,500 when the contract was signed. And then a week later, he paid the remaining 2,500. So they made 10K in one go. You can actually see here where I was asking them. I was just making sure that they got the full payment. So I said, is this partial payment? There's more coming. And Kent said, hell yeah, there's more. Karan said, yes, indeed. And it was about a week later. Everything was paid. done deal, on to the next. And why I think this is actually even more important to show you guys is that all of these examples that I'm showing you, every single one, they have used this strategy that I'm showing you. Every single one of them. Not one of them is using a different strategy. They're all part of the program. They're all my mentees, and they are literally doing exactly what I'm going to show you. Very, very straightforward. But of course, you just have to follow the steps and actually put the work in, right? Again, just to confirm, they did not go and view these properties. Kent did not meet that landlord. He spoke with them on the phone. Karan did not meet that investor. He did not go to those properties. Everything was transacted over the phone, on emails. So yeah, super powerful and amazing to see. And they're still selling deals till this day. Like I said, I mean, this sale was actually before the sale that I just showed you from Karan. So he's still selling deals, even though he's doing things like this, and Kent as well. So really, really good. Some of you guys may even have some of these people I'm showing you on your Facebooks as your friends, because they're very active in the deal sourcing world now. So if you're in the groups and you're connecting, some of you may already recognize some of these people. So you know they're real people. You can click on their pages, and you can reach out to them maybe if you want to as well. And if you scroll through my Facebook page, we have over 150 examples just like this, almost 200 actually. So crazy, really, really crazy. This is Charlie. Another one of my mentees that joined the program actually in the earlier days. So the program, I launched it in 2021 and Charlie joined that year. And again, similar to Kieran, the first guy that joined, just hit the ground running. Sold his first deal within his first month, as you can see here. My first deal wrapped up, guys, just finishing my 4th week, pretty good going. I said, boom, well done, Charlie. He said, lots of help off you, mate. And if you fast forward, so like I said, he joined in 2021. So this is from 2021. I can't remember the exact month. If you fast forward to 2022, which you can see here, he's now hitting 10K months regularly, normal to him. Right? You can see here, great finish to the week, just sold another deal. And I said, boom, that's got to be a 10,000 pounds this month, surely. He said, yes, mate, normal month, to be honest. I've sold 4 in the past 7 days. And Charlie actually made 40K in his first 5 months of joining the program. So his first month, he only sold like 1 deal, but then every month after that, he was hitting 10K. So he was selling those 4 or 5 deals every month, just using literally the strategy I'm about to give you guys. So it is very, very powerful. And he still works with us today. He's actually part of my team now. I just loved his work rate. So he actually came on board and he works with a lot of the other guys in the program, still selling deals with them till this day. So really, really good. Again, started from scratch, complete newbie, had a few buy-to-lets under his belt. So he was kind of like a traditional landlord, but wanted to make larger sums of money in property and kind of just be more involved. I think he wanted to get more involved in the nitty-gritty and do deals. And I think that was more where his passion was, rather than just doing the traditional buy-to-lets and chucking the tenants in. So he's just stumbled across some of my content on Facebook, like probably all of you guys have. And we ended up having a chat and yeah, came on board, started from scratch, picked things up very, very quickly. And as you saw, within his first 4 weeks, sold that first deal and went on to make, 40 grand in that first 5 months, which was crazy, absolutely crazy to see. We also have Miriam here, another really good example of someone starting from scratch and crushing it. Miriam actually started working with me during a challenge, a deal sourcing challenge I was doing about a year or so ago. Some of you, if you guys were following me, then you probably remember it. But if not, this is completely new to you. But I done a challenge where I kind of like had about 100 people come and work with me. It was a free challenge, kind of like this masterclass, but we done it over a set amount of days, and I was doing daily Q&A and support calls, and just kind of giving them a sort of a taster of what I do in the program. So I was working with them every day, jumping on Zoom calls, and anything they were stuck on, we would kind of like unpack there and then in real time. And during that challenge, Miriam was one of the about 10 people that sold their first deals during that challenge, which was crazy to see, starting from scratch. Literally just following what I'm showing them every day and actually seeing it generate results in real time. So she ended up joining the program and deciding she wanted to work with me long term. And as we can see here, absolutely crushing it, still crushing it till this day. This was a £10,000 week. So she actually broke the record at that time. Yeah, absolutely amazing result. Like, you know, we you hear people talk all the time about making £10,000 in a month, but to see someone do it in a week, you know, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. So that was, you know, really really good to see. And as you can see here, one of the things we spoke about at that time was that we needed to get the structure right for Miriam. I think there was a lot of business coming her way, and it just became a little bit much to handle. And as you saw there, she actually said she probably could have made more money if she maybe had a team in place and a bit more structure. So we worked on that over the coming months, and now, similar to what you guys heard me saying to Robert earlier, she's got a really strong team of VAs in place. Kind of just following the steps that I gave you guys on that video where I broke down the virtual assistant strategy in terms of scaling. Again, go and check it out in the group if you haven't seen it, in the free group. So now Miriam and many of the other guys are really implementing that, and I'm kind of like supporting them through that, making sure that it all runs smoothly. So really powerful, really, really powerful to see, hitting 10, 20K months. I think she actually had a 30K month not too long ago as it goes. Again, starting from scratch and just using this strategy. So that was Miriam. I'll kind of go a little bit quicker through these, and we can dive into the strategy a little bit more. This is Zara, another great example. Lovely lady, started from scratch. Zara doesn't even have a profile picture up on her Facebook, but still managed to implement what I've shown her and absolutely crush it. 10K months. She's won top saleswoman in my program multiple times. Uh, really, 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 really impressive. Again, starting from scratch. Wasn't even super confident on Facebook in general, to be honest, right? But we kind of went through everything together again every day, 24/7, giving that support, jumping on daily Zoom calls, and just unpacking everything step by step. And yeah, within her first, I think she sold her first deal in the first month. But I mean, forget that. It was what she was doing after that. 10K months, 15K months. Um, yeah, absolutely crushing it. You see here, this was 5 deals she sold, and then went on to just quickly sell another deal straight after. This was all in 1 month. So really powerful. That was Zara. We also had Rihanna and Nath. Another really good example. This is a young couple that joined the program together. They're like partners in their business, but also a couple. And although they didn't start from scratch, from ground zero, because they did have their company set up and they were kind of trying to get things up and running, but wasn't actually selling deals yet. And came on board. And as you can see here, within that first 2 months of working with me, made 12 grand, which was crazy, absolutely crazy. So they literally went from selling nothing to, you know, making £12,000 in actually less than 2 months. To be honest, it was about maybe a month and a half. So really, really good. That was Rihanna and Nath. We also have Tarun. I was actually just speaking with Tarun today as it goes. So Tarun, another great example, 4K in 4 days. He sold many, many deals outside of this as well. But this was really good to see because they were just like back to back. Even after doing this 4K in 4 days, he went on and sold another deal for 3K only a few days later. So absolutely crushing it, hitting those 10K months without any issues. He actually gave them a little bit of a discount, as you can see here. So I was asking him about the fees because he mentioned that he sold 1 deal last week, Friday, second deal today. One was co-sourced, second was his own. And as you guys know, or I'm going to assume you know, but I'll let you know now, the rent to rent deals are selling for 3K. So, of course, when we're co-sourcing, we're splitting the fee 50-50. So we're walking away with 1,500 usually. So you can see here, I was asking him based on what he had said about the type of deals he'd sold, whether he was paid 1,500 for the co-source deal and 3,000 for the deal that was direct. When I say direct, what we mean is he got the deal directly from the landlord. So there's no agent or co-sourcer in the middle. And he said down here, he got 1,500 and 2,500. And that was because he negotiated to sell more deals to that investor, which is what I kind of suggest to the guys anyway. You want to be flexible. These are good fees anyway. And especially in a situation like that where you're getting the full fee anyway, you're not having to split it with anyone. It was a really, really good deal and made him a really good amount of money that week, which was amazing to see. Again, we have Harry. Who's that? Hugh. Hey Hugh, don't worry, no problem. This is all being recorded, by the way, guys. So if you did join late, no problem. You'll be able to watch the replay. So yeah, this is Harry. And I mentioned him earlier. So he's the young gentleman in the program. I believe Harry is the youngest person in the program. I'm sure he joined. He was like 19. I don't think he was even 20 yet. Maybe he was 20, but he's very young. And sold a deal within 2 hours of receiving it. So made 3K in 2 hours, as you can see here. This was not his first sale since joining the program. This was months into him joining the program. He'd already sold many deals by then. And this investor was actually someone he had sold deals to. So as you can see, the investor was very comfortable with him. They built a really good relationship, which, as you guys are going to see later, is my whole approach. Relationship, rapport. We want them to be comfortable with us. They want us to trust us. Familiarity every time we contact them, and kind of nurture that relationship so that things like this can happen. So because he had already purchased some deals from him before and could see this is a trustworthy guy, everything's been done properly, he said, okay, I like the deal. I think this was a deal that was getting a lot of interest and he probably knew that. So he said, I'll take it. Don't even need to go and view it. I trust you. I'm going to take it and I'll go and view it when I can. But just to get it off the market, let me grab it. And that was 2 hours after Harry sent the deal to his investor list, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. And you can see here, he said, surely that's a record, which it definitely was. So yeah, again, just using this strategy. We also have Samir. Linda said, please show us how. I'm about to, Linda. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I just want you to see, because the thing is, I could show you one or two examples and it's kind of like, okay, where's he got those one or two examples from, right? Are they real? Was it a fluke? You know, but when I show you back to back, what have we looked at? 10 already? Something like that. And like I said, if you go and look through my Facebook page or in the free school group, you look through the section that says wins, there's almost 200 of these exact same examples, right? Of people joining the program, crushing it, selling multiple deals. So I'm going to get into it. Don't you worry. And I'm going to uncover everything in as much detail as possible. So this was Samir, just another example there. And I think that's pretty much it, actually. So we're going to take a little look at the actual funnel we're using to get these results, right? So, of course, in terms of putting the pieces of this puzzle together, there has to be some structure in place, right? As much as it's about, taking action and just like putting the work in to make it happen, there has to be some structure. And actually, sometimes the reason why people are struggling with their deal sourcing business is just because they don't have any structure. They're kind of like just running around like a headless chicken, trying to cover any and every area, no relationships with anyone. It's kind of like just trying to do a deal here and there where I can, and basically just blagging it, right? But you want to have structure in place. And that's all of those people that I've just shown you above. That's what I've given them, a system, some structure, so that it's very clear what needs to be done at each step to get the results, right? So let's have a quick look at the actual funnel. Now, guys, I want to, on my screen, this looks fine, but I just want to make sure on your side you can see everything. Do I need to zoom in a little bit or zoom out? Mainly, you only really need to see, whatever I zoom in on at the time. But just from the bigger picture, can everyone see that? You should see kind of like a diagram. It says foundations. At the top, it says the process. Someone said the picture's blurred. Let me zoom in a bit. Can you see that? Just let me know. Is that better, Rabbi? Yeah? Okay. Too big? It's going to be difficult to keep everyone happy, guys, right? You're all going to kind of see it different from your side. But okay, Rabbi said better. Okay, I won't zoom in too much. And of course, I need to move around the screen anyway. So as I move to different parts, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm speaking about. But just basically what this is the funnel that the guys are using to get the results that you've just seen. And I'm going to run through each part of it for you. I'll try not to take too long, but also I don't want to go too fast and you miss anything. So try and take notes if you can, and follow it in the order that I'm showing you in. That's something that people do incorrectly a lot. So I have people reach out to me and say, "Oh, Gary, I've started trying to contact landlords, for example. I'm not getting any responses from them. What should I do?" And then I start asking them about what they've done in terms of the foundations. Guys, please, 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 someone's playing with the screen. Please do not touch the screen, guys. Okay, please, please, please. Otherwise, it will become a bit of a mess. I don't even know if I can move that back down now. Oh God, 1 second. Okay, just give me 1 sec, guys. Okay, it should be fine. All right. Please, guys, just try not to play with the screen, okay? Like I said, if you can't see anything, just let me know and I will zoom in for you, okay? Easiest way, otherwise you'll mess up the presentation. Okay, so this is the funnel. So let me just zoom in so you can see. So we'll start off with the foundation. So we start with the free Facebook groups, right? So again, as I kind of mentioned earlier, the Facebook groups are super important. And I've actually kind of explained why here. Now, this line was supposed to go to it, but of course, it's been moved around. Not to worry, we'll continue. So, the reason why we focus on free Facebook groups is simply because, firstly, Facebook and the Facebook groups have the biggest rent to rent communities online. So I don't know whether you've done the research, whether you've had a look. You can go and look on places like LinkedIn or Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, any of those other platforms, and you'll notice that actually none of them have the same presence or community in terms of rent to rent specifically as Facebook, right? That's mainly because of the group setting. So of course, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and LinkedIn, and these other sites, they don't have the same group power, I suppose you could call it, right? Whereas Facebook's really focused on the whole group aspect, where you're able to build communities. So what you'll find on Facebook in terms of the rent to rent groups is that there's actually groups that have like 40,000 people in it. They're all interested in rent to rent. 10,000 people, 5,000 people. I've actually got my own Facebook group on Facebook rent to rent group on Facebook, and I have almost 7,000 people in that group. These are all people specifically interested in rent to rent. So when you're trying to sell rent to rent deals, it's the perfect place for you to be, because everybody that you need to be in communication with is within these groups. Literally, that's where the whole community is. So very important for you to be in those groups. The groups are free to join. Now, I don't know whether you know, but there are actually paid groups on Facebook. There's certain groups you have to pay to be in, but I'm in about 130 something rent to rent groups on Facebook, and every single one of them are free. So I now have access to all of that data within that group, all of the people within those groups for free, for absolutely free. And again, I kind of mentioned to you guys earlier my background. I've been an estate agent before, and I worked in a small independent office. So I was literally in the same office as the director. So I saw everything. I got like the behind the scenes. And I know firsthand the type of money that estate agents and other businesses, of course, but I've been in the estate agent world. So from what I've seen personally, the type of money they're paying for ads, for advertisement, to get a landlord on board, or to get an investor on board, or to get, I don't know, whoever it is, to give them business, they're having to pay money to make that happen, whether it's Facebook ads or YouTube ads or whatever it is, or whether it's, flyering, putting leaflets through people's doors, canvassing, as what we called it. Um, all of these things cost money, letter drops, whatever it is, right? Whereas we're able to just join these Facebook groups, which are free, and have access to thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are in the same business as us, or at least interested in the same business as us, which is super, super valuable. And actually, what you'll find is actually all of the investors that have purchased the deals from the guys that you've seen above in the examples I showed have all come from these free Facebook groups, every single one of them. So it also shows you how powerful it is for you to be in there, right? So like I said, thousands of members, free to join and use, years of valuable data. I was just speaking with someone in the free Facebook group a couple of days ago about their list that they were attempting to build, and they were saying, "Oh, Gary, I'm struggling to find more investors and things like that." And I'm thinking, how are you struggling? I know personally how many people are in these groups, and the fact that there's more and more every single day. So I'm saying to him, where are you looking? Like, just walk me through what you're doing. So he said, "Oh, I followed what you're saying. I'm going in the groups, I'm finding people." But what he wasn't doing was looking past a certain date or past a certain amount of time. So he was actually only looking at this year and maybe last year, all of the comments and activity then. But what I explained to him is that it doesn't matter how old or new any of those posts or comments are, you should still make use of that valuable data, because you don't know. We've literally got investors that we found a comment that they left like 3 years ago, and some deal sources wouldn't have messaged them because they thought, oh, that's 3 years ago, surely they're not interested anymore. But that source is that investor is still looking for a deal today, and we take him on board and we sell a deal to him, right? Because we're happy to reach out to him and communicate. So it's super important that you understand how valuable that data is and how many years of data there is. It literally goes back years and years. And then in terms of new opportunities every single day, every time somebody posts a deal for sale, and again, if you guys are in some of these rent to rent groups, you'll see there's deals posted every day. You know, in my group alone, there's about 50 deals posted every day. And what that does is that encourages more investors to comment and engage. And that's, again, more opportunities for us. Because, yes, you might look today and you might not find any investors to reach out to. But then tomorrow, all of the posts that have been posted, new deals for sale, for example, have got new comments on it with more investors that hadn't have commented before. So literally every single day there are new opportunities within these groups once you know what you're looking for, right? And that's just, I've only given you the examples of the investor side. There's loads of other benefits to it: co-sources, agents, landlords, etc. So very important that you're in these groups. And as I mentioned, creating your own group, really powerful. My Deal Sources United group, no exaggeration, literally the amount of investors that reach out to me, agents, sources, of course, or just loads of people that are within the business, because it's my group. I'm able to have those conversations with them. They'll reach out to me, especially because I put content out in that group as well. So very, very powerful putting yourself out there and kind of creating your own brand. Now, just so you know, just as a disclaimer, you don't have to do that. You can do all of what the guys above are doing without having your own group. A lot of them don't have their own groups, right? That's just something you can do as well, right? So I don't want you to feel like, okay, I don't really want to have my own group and manage that and post content and things like that. You can do everything I'm about to show you without doing that final part. But that's just to let you know, for the people who are open to creating their own group and, you know, generating leads that way, that's a very powerful way to generate new business, right? So just keep that in mind. So is everybody clear on that? Everybody understand why the Facebook groups are so important? Let's give me a yes in the chat if that makes sense. I know the presentation's messed up a little bit, guys, from whoever was playing with the board by accident, but we're going to try and work with it, right? Let's focus on moving forward and not on the issue at hand. As long as you guys can see the writing, it's fine. The way I'll explain it, you'll understand everything. Okay, everyone's saying yes, perfect. Now, just to kind of walk you through how you're supposed to find these groups, because some people don't even know how to find the groups in the first place. Again, hopefully you're taking notes. So just very quickly, you're going to go on your Facebook page. You are going to go into the Facebook section. And for those who don't know what the Facebook section, Facebook groups section, apologies, is if you look at the bottom of your homepage, there's like a little circle with 3 little men on it. It should be like a little blue circle with 3 little, I say 3 little men, it could be 3 little women, but 3 little people. And it says groups above it. So you should be able to see it. So you go to the group section. And then what you're going to do is in the group section search box, you're going to type all of the phrases associated to rent, right? So rent to rent, of course, the normal way of spelling it. You'll write in, and you're going to do these all one by one, by the way. So you'll write rent to rent, hit enter, and you'll see a list of all of the rent to rent Facebook groups pop up, and you just join all of them, right? Make sure they're the rent to rent groups. Go read the titles and just join them. And then after you think you've joined as many as you can, or all of them, delete that and just go into the search box again and type in the next phrase, right? Rent to rent, but maybe with the number 2 in the middle rather than the word 2, right? Hit enter. You're going to see there's going to be different groups popping up from what showed before. Do the same thing again. You want to type in all the rest of the phrases. So rent to SA, rent to HMO, R2R. Okay, you're going to do all of these phrases one by one. and you're going to scroll through those lists and join all of those groups. Is everybody clear on that? Just give me a yes if those instructions were clear. Ashton said yes. Perfect. Okay. Let me know in the chat, guys, as you're, because I'm going to assume some of you guys are proactively doing this as I'm explaining it. So if you're doing it as I'm explaining it, just let me know in the chat how many groups you're joining. If you're finding any issues, if you're struggling to find it, use the chat and I'll stop and I'll go over it for you if you need to. But I'm going to assume that everybody's clear. Okay, Mo said I'm not clear. Just explain to me what you're not clear on, Mo. Just quickly write that to me and then I'll go over it again. Kathleen said, Facebook group, how can we ensure that the potential investor gets our messages? Have sent out hundreds of voicemails and most never get opened. Okay, first things first, there's not really a way that you can guarantee they're going to open it, but you can, for example, the comment that you saw, which led you to message them directly, you could leave a comment under their comment. Just letting them know if it was me that commented, for example, you could write, hey, Gary, just sent you a DM. Because I might be more likely to see your comment in my notifications than your message in my inbox. And actually, in a lot of cases, the reason why some of these people aren't opening it is because your messages ended up in their message request box. But we're gonna talk more about the investor part in a minute. So I don't want to rush ahead. The main thing is you're in the groups, and if you're in the groups, you have access to all of these investors in the first place. You mentioned as well, Kathleen, you've messaged hundreds. Be a little bit more specific with me. How many people have you actually messaged altogether using what I've shown you anyway? I don't know if you've messaging people before, but in terms of what you're speaking about now, how many would you say you've messaged roughly? Okay, everyone's clear on that. Mo, just let me know what you're not clear on. Just write it in the chat and then I will. Okay, you said in the group section, there are a lot of groups with R2R. Yep, okay. So the groups with R2R, if it's rent to rent, if you're unsure whether or not it's an actual rent to rent group, just click on it and it should say it in the description, or the pictures of it, the group's pictures should show you. It will be pictures of property, or just click on it and you'll be able to see what the group is. But usually without even clicking on it, you can see just from the name. You said rent to SA. Yes, there's lots of rent to SA groups, and rent to SA is short for rent to serviced accommodation. So it's another rent to rent deal. So all of these abbreviations are they all basically mean rent to rent deal, but they're different types of rent to rent deal. So rent to serviced accommodation, rent to HMO, rent to social housing. You're going to see all these different terms that are associated, but just join all of them. Mo, be aggressive in terms of, don't overthink it. The worst that's going to happen if you end up in a group that's not a rent to rent one is you notice and then you leave the group. That's it. But just join as many of those groups as you can. There's actually a rent to rent group, guys, that has 40,000 people in it. It's my favorite rent to rent group. I did actually have a screenshot of it up here, but I think when things messed up on the screen, it got removed. But if you, as you're looking through, you can't miss it. It's probably the most active rent to rent group that you can find. Make sure you join that one. Okay. Does that make sense, Mo? Okay. All right. We're going to move on. Okay, guys. So that was the Facebook groups. So very important. And again, in order, guys. Okay. So we're joining the Facebook groups to make sure that we have access to the data and all of the people we need to have access to do this business. Right. The next step, hopefully the screen doesn't mess up. 1 second. Where are we? Let me zoom in or out a little bit. So the next step is the high demand areas, right? Guys, please do not play with the screen. I can see someone's trying to play with the screen. Like I said, if you don't need to press anything on the screen, guys. Just watch the screen. And then if anything, if you do need something done, just press on the chat and type it in there, and then I can move it for you. Yeah. Easiest way to keep this nice and smooth. So high demand areas, which is the next step. So now you're in the Facebook groups, so you have access to what you need. Now you're going to use the data in those groups to figure out which areas you're going to cover. So as you can see down here, if I go to the free high demand area breakdown. So you're going to use the free data in the groups to quickly pick areas based strictly on demand and engagement, not logistics. So what do I mean by that? Usually a deal sourcer will either cover any area. That's usually what deal sources are doing. So they don't have specific areas they're covering that they can kind of like dominate. It's literally anywhere there's a deal, I'll attempt to do it. But what you want to do is you want to go in these groups and actually look to see where are the investors engaging, where are they actively looking for deals. And usually it's the bigger cities, London, Birmingham, Manchester, places like that. But if you go into the actual groups and type those areas in the search box, you'll be able to see. So again, similar to what you've done with the search to find the groups, now you're in the groups, go into them and type in the search box whichever, let's say, for example, a specific area you've got in mind, hit enter. And then again, you'll be able to just scroll through and see all the posts that are associated to that area. Let's say it was Birmingham, for example, and you'll clearly see whether those areas get interest whenever there's a deal posted there. Right. So, for example, a Birmingham deal will get 50 to maybe 100 comments on it whenever a deal's posted, whereas certain other areas may only get one or two, maybe none in most cases, right? But you'll be able to see that there'll be a clear pattern. So if you just scroll through those groups and do that little research, make a note on which areas are getting the interest and pick 3 areas max. So you can see here I've mentioned focus on 3 areas maximum. It's just much easier to manage and much easier to dominate. That's what the guys above have done. You'll find it a lot easier, a lot easier. And actually, just to let you know, there's nothing wrong with only covering one area as well. So I've actually got a lot of people in the group that are crushing it with one area. Some of those examples I showed you above are some of those people, right? But you want to base it strictly on demand. So you only want to be doing deals where you know there are investors actively looking for deals there. Is everybody clear on that? Just give me a yes if you're clear on that in the chat. Does that make sense? Ashton says yes. Rabbi says yes. Good. Okay, perfect. Linda, okay, that makes sense. Perfect. All right. I also mentioned about not basing it on logistics. So what I mean by that is sometimes people pick the area that they live in, for example. So it's not based on demand. It's I live here, I know the area. It's easy for me to attend viewings if I need to. I'm going to cover here. But those people, unless they are covering, they just happen to live in an area where there's high demand already from investors, they will struggle. So they might be able to get deals, but then they'll notice that they're not generating interest for those deals quickly. And this business is very quick. You know, you get a deal, you want to be generating interest 24, 48 hours later, right? So you haven't got time to sit on deals because the landlords just get really impatient or the agent gets impatient and you lose the deal. So we need to be in areas where we already know there's demand there. So not based on where we live, not based on where our best friend lives or where our girlfriend or boyfriend lives. Has to be based on there's investors specifically looking for deals there, right? Um, Also very important to know that we are doing this 100% remotely. So again, the logistics side doesn't even make a difference. Every single deal that I've shown you above, including Rabbi's, who's on this call, has been done remotely. We didn't go to the viewing, we didn't view the property, we didn't meet anyone. So again, the logistics don't necessarily matter because you're not physically having to go to these properties anyway. So I was doing deals outside of London. I'm in London. It didn't matter because I wasn't there, right? I was doing deals while I'm on holiday. Doesn't matter. I don't have to physically be there. As long as I can answer my phone, make calls, send texts, WhatsApp, jump on the internet, maybe send some emails. So I might need to jump on a laptop. But other than that, the majority of the things I need to do, I can handle without me having to be there or having to be anywhere specific, right? So very, very powerful. And also being in these groups, um, being in these groups kind of gives you access to the data in terms of the market. So, for example, if you did pick an area that turned out to not have much demand, because maybe you just didn't do the research properly, you can very quickly go back into those groups and pick the high demand area that you need to change it to very quickly. You know, it's a very quick exercise. It doesn't involve too much. Like I said, you're just going through these groups and you're doing those checks yourself in real time. You can see it clear as day. based on comments and likes and things like that. Okay, is that clear? Everybody understands the importance of the high demand areas. So just to quickly rewind, you're joining all the free rent-to-rent Facebook groups. So you have the access to the data and the people. And then once you're in the groups, you're now picking the areas that you're going to cover moving forward. So you're not kind of like just trying to do a deal everywhere. You're clear on, okay, London is my area, or London, Birmingham, and Manchester are my areas, or whichever areas you pick. But you're going to pick 3 maximum. Is everyone clear on that? Let me know in the chat, guys. If I've missed any of your questions, I'm going to do my best to scroll back up and kind of catch up. I don't think I have missed any, but just leave it with me. I'll catch back up with them. Ashton said, I can't wait for the script to explain how you would not have to go to a viewing to the landlord. You don't need a script for that, Ashton. You don't need a script. You just need to be honest, right? For example, if you're the landlord and I have a client that's coming to view your property. I'm in London. The property is in Manchester. I'm just going to explain to you that, Ashton, I'm based in London. It doesn't make sense for me to drive up there and see the property. Remember, it's not me taking the property on. It's my client that's taking it on. My client's going to come and view it. And if the property fits, right, as I believe it does, but of course they need to see it in person, then we're ready to go, right? And then when you're transparent like that, you don't get a pushback, to be honest. And I think the problem that most sources find is they're not transparent and honest with the landlord up front. Most sources are approaching the landlord as if they are the investor, as if they are the person taking the property on. And I know that firsthand just because of the conversations that people have shown me they're having. And I'm like, that's why you're having issues with the landlord, because he thinks you're the investor. So if you're the investor, why are you not coming to view it? Do you see what I mean? Does that make sense, Ashton? So you have to be super clear on what your position is. And I always encourage the guys to just like make that clear to the landlord from the off, to be honest, from that first or second conversation. Well, if they question it, we'll let them know straight away. But if not, we're gonna make it clear to them that, look, just to be clear, this is not me taking the property on, right? My job is to find these properties, make sure they fit the criteria for my clients. My clients are the companies that are going to take the property on. So once they're clear on that from the beginning, it doesn't really matter whether or not you come and view it, because they know you're not the decision maker. You're not the person who's actually going to take it on and pay them the rent. So you'll find that you don't really need a script. You just need to have an honest conversation with them. Yeah. Okay. Good question, though. Very good question. Let me see. Did I miss any others? Sue said, do you need to be totally compliant before selling the deal? In my opinion, or to be honest, it's not my opinion, it's the rules. You need to be compliant to sell a deal. To complete a deal on your own, you need to be fully compliant, i.e., you've got the investor, you've got the deal, you're the person in the middle, you're the person the money is being paid to, the fee I'm talking about. Yes, you need to be fully compliant. Don't get me wrong, there are loopholes, but the loopholes are not for people that are selling deals directly to their investors. Those loopholes are more just you getting an introduction fee, for example. I'll use you and Ashton, because we were just speaking about Ashton as an example. So Ashton's a fully compliant deal sourcer. You're not a fully compliant deal sourcer, Sue, right? But you've been speaking with investors, so you have clients. You're just kind of like building your list as you sort out your compliance. But Ashton has deals and he's struggling to sell them. If you've got a relationship with Ashton, if you guys are part of the same network, you can say, well, look, I'm not compliant, so I can't sell a deal to this person, but here they are. When you sell a deal with them, you pay me a little referral fee for the introduction. There's little loopholes like that. But I always suggest to people to just get compliant if you can. If you have the capacity to get compliant, it's about £1,000 maximum to become fully compliant. If you can do it, I say just do it. It makes your life a lot easier. You sleep better at night, right? You don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. And like I said, you can do a complete deal on your own. If you're not compliant, you have to depend on deal sources. You haven't got a choice, because you can't do anything directly yourself. And I don't think you shouldn't want to be in that position. You want to have full control, because that's where you're going to make the majority of the money as well. So yeah, that would be my take on it. If you can get it done, get it out of the way. It's £1,000. You sell one deal, you've made that money back plus profit, literally. And you see how quickly people are selling deals. So it's definitely worth it. It's definitely a good investment. Okay, I'm just going to quickly scroll up, make sure I haven't missed any more questions before I carry on. Okay, I just saw a question and it's just gone. Just give me 1 second, guys. Okay, so Kathleen said Facebook. Okay, I think I answered that one. And then you said 280 messages were sent. Just interested to know best thing to get them seen by the investor. Yeah, there's no way that you can guarantee that they see it, to be honest. But what I always say is, you've sent the message, you've planted the seed. That's it. The message is there. Remember, the message doesn't disappear if they take long to open it. It's in their inbox. All it takes is for them to see it. That's it. But I would say to you, don't worry about them seeing it. Don't wait for the responses. We don't wait for the responses because they'll come. If somebody's actively looking for deals and they're looking at their messages, they'll see the message and they'll respond to us. And that's literally what we do. They'll come back to you. What you want to focus on is the output, right? That's, there's you can't change, I suppose, the what the outcome of you sending the message, because it's down to them to open it, but you have control of the input, I should say. So what I mean by that is, send more messages. 280 sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot, but in reality, in the program, we send 50 messages a day. 50. That's when you work with me, you have to be sending 50 messages a day minimum. So if we look at it that way, 50 messages a day, what, 250? If you're sending Monday to Friday, you're sending 250 a week. So that's like a week's worth of work that you've done there, which is not bad, of course, not bad at all. But carry on sending those messages. Those people will open those messages and respond. The problem is, if you sit and wait for those to open it, then you miss out on all the people that are still in those groups, because there's thousands of them that would open your message immediately. So you have to carry on sending those messages out. That's the best way to do it. And you'll see that the responses start to roll in. Yeah. Also, the other side as well is, and this is one that I've been dealing with a lot lately. Literally just done an audit for one of the deal sources today in the free group. I don't know if he's on this call right now, but what you're actually saying in those messages, how you're approaching them, that makes a big difference as well. So I had someone saying something similar to you today, sending a lot of messages, sent a similar amount as yourself, not getting any responses, or I'm only getting a couple of responses. People are opening the messages but they're not responding. What do you think the problem is? So I said, okay, this is what I want you to do. Forward me the voice notes you're sending and forward me the written messages you're sending to these investors. I want to see, because 280 is a good number. Like I said, there's more you can do, but 280 is still a good number. You should be getting responses if you've messaged 280 people. So the only thing I can think of that would stop that is the messaging, the wording, the approach. Something is not right. And when he forwarded me his ones, he sent me about 5 altogether. There was about 3 voice notes and 2 written. And immediately from the first voice note, straight away, I messaged him back. I said, I know exactly what the problem is. And it was literally the approach, right? For example, in his voice note, he is not making it clear how he's even come across the investor. He's going straight for the kill immediately. And I'm going to go through with you guys what you should be saying as we go through. But that was one thing I picked up on immediately. Like, the first thing I picked up on is he's trying to go straight for trying to sell this person something. And that's not our approach. Our approach is break the ice, build rapport, ask the right questions first. And that makes the process quicker, because they drop their guard and they're happy to give you the information you need and start working with you. Whereas if you're trying to go straight in for the kill, then of course people kind of get their backs up and they don't communicate as well as they should. So that was something I found. And also, so that was his opening on the call. And then the way he was closing the call, very open. He was leaving it open. Wasn't leaving it on a question, right? So when you're sending your initial messages to investors, I'm kind of speeding ahead here, but just because you asked the question, when you're messaging your investors, that initial message, the whole point of it is firstly to make sure they're even still looking for a deal, right? So going in all bullish straight away, I've got these deals, trying to sell them a deal immediately is the wrong approach, right? And leaving the call or leaving that voice note, he said something along the lines of, yeah, if you're looking for a deal, just let me know. Something like that, right? So he opened the call trying to talk about a deal straight away and then ended it on, if you're looking for a deal, just let me know, right? But I would say the better way to end that call is to ask, firstly, are you even still looking for deals like that? So very key points. They sound like small things, but they're huge, huge things, because people listen to your message or read your message and you've only really got a second or two to kind of gain their trust, I suppose, and in a way enough that they're happy to even give you their time. So you have to be really clinical with those messages. Although they're like it's a quick voice note or a quick written message, you have to kind of be strategic with it. So I'll give you an example. If I was to send you a voice note, and of course I'm not hearing the voice notes you're sending, but you can tell me whether they're anything along these lines. So you're going to hear, I'm going to touch on the specifics. So I would say, I'll use Ashton again. I keep using Ashton because I know we've spoken a few times. So I'll say, hey, Ashton, how's it going? Hope you're well. Look, I just saw you left a comment on a rent-to-rent deal in Birmingham. Are you still looking for deals like that at the moment? That's how I would end the voice note. So I've ended it on a question. So I've opened it firstly by letting him know why I'm even reaching out to him. So it's clear as day that I've seen that he's already looking for these types of deals. So I'm not just messaging him randomly, right? Because you have to remember as well, guys, Facebook is huge. So although we've seen that comment there, he could have commented in 100 different other groups about 100 different other types of deals. And we're just messaging him, randomly and not being clear on why. So he doesn't know. He has no idea what this is all about. And as you guys, I'm sure you know, the minute someone's confused, that's it. You've lost them, right? So you want to make it clear straight away. I saw you express interest, or I saw you commented. You can say it however you want to say it, but you want to make it clear that you saw they are looking, or they were looking for a rent-to-rent deal. You have to be specific about that. I saw you was looking for a rent-to-rent deal, and you also have to be specific about the area. I saw you was looking for a rent-to-rent deal in whichever area, London, Birmingham, wherever it was, right? And then as you heard, I end it by not trying to sell them a deal. Oh, I've got a London deal right now, actually. If you're interested, I'm not trying to sell you something on this first interaction. I just want to know, are you even still looking for that? Because you might come back to me and say, well, actually, Gary, I'm not even looking for those types of deals anymore. And if I'm like sending deals to you immediately, trying to sell you something straight away, it's a waste of time, right? And if the person is still looking and you're sending them deals immediately straight off the bat without introducing yourself or breaking the ice or trying to build rapport, that can scare them off as well, because they're kind of just like, this person doesn't even care to know what my criteria is, what I'm about, anything. They just want to spam my inbox with deals and try and sell me something without even getting to know me. And what I try and explain to people nowadays is that everyone on the internet is so skeptical of everyone, right? It's very hard to gain people's trust. So you have to like approach it a little bit softer. So that's the way that I would approach it. So again, of course, like I said, I don't necessarily know exactly what you're saying in your messaging, but you've just heard what my example is. And that's pretty much what I would say, right? But we're going to keep working through. I can't see any more questions, guys. Let me make sure I'm not missing any. Investors don't even ask if I've already seen who's that? If I've already seen the property or if I'm going to be at the property to view with them. Yeah, they don't. It doesn't. It's not relevant. It doesn't really matter when you really think about it. Again, I've been doing this for a very long time. I've sold hundreds and hundreds of deals, hundreds and hundreds of properties. And I remember having that conversation with one of my investors. I'm sure I've had like a post about it before, but I actually asked one of my investors that bought a lot of deals from me. We had a good relationship, so I felt like I could have an on the level conversation with him. And I asked, does it even matter if I've seen it? And he just said, Gary, it doesn't, to be honest, because I'm not going to buy this deal based on what you think of it, on what you saw. I'm always going to want to see it myself anyway. So really, we're just doing two viewings, and it doesn't really make a difference. So I just realized that I'm driving up and down the country, viewing this property, that property, meeting this agent, this landlord, and it's not making any difference really to whether or not I sell a deal, because the investor still wants to come and see it themselves anyway, right? So just something to keep in mind, you know, they don't really necessarily care. And if you ever feel, because some people kind of feel a little bit differently about it, right? They're kind of like, no, I feel like I should be there. Well, this strategy isn't to say to you there's something wrong with you being there. It's to say you have the option. So for people like myself, and I would imagine some people, many of you on the call, I wanted that time. I wanted that flexibility. I didn't want to spend the day driving up and down doing viewings, right? I was an agent for 2 years doing 10 viewings a day. So for me, it just, that wasn't appealing. I still wanted to sell property deals because I understand the business. I enjoy the business. I enjoy the sales aspect of it, but I didn't enjoy going and doing viewings or going and having to meet a landlord and like try and secure the deal face to face. And I just realized I didn't need to. Could do all of this stuff over the phone, right? So just something to keep in mind, guys. You can go and view these properties if you'd like. You can go and meet these people. Nothing wrong with it. But of course, that's time. It takes time. And if you want to do something that's the easiest to manage in terms of time, you have to do this remotely. You know, you have to figure out how you can do it without you having to physically be there. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay. I can't see what your first name is, but it says O Robinson. So apologies, I can't see your first name, but I've given you a full compliance checklist in the free school group that you're in. So in the free school group, guys, there's a section that says resources. Go and have a look in there. I've given you an actual checklist of everything that you need to become compliant. Okay, so just let me know after the call. If you can't find it, let me know. Shoot me a message on school and I'll just forward it to you. But it is in there. You've got access to it. Okay. All right, let's keep going, guys, because time's ticking. So that was 3 Facebook groups. These groups are goldmine, guys. Please, please make sure you join them. Actually, before we move on, has anybody started joining groups? Let me know in the chat. Give me a yes. Let me know how many you've joined. Just want to see who's being proactive. Not that you have to do it right now. You can listen to me and make notes. But if you're doing it at the same time, Ashton is brilliant. How many of you joined, Ashton, since we started? Sue has about 20. Linda about... Guys, I like that. Linda about 10. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I'm all about action, being proactive. Theory is great. Theory is lovely, but I like to actually do things. So I'm really happy to hear you guys are doing it in real time. Okay, cool. So you're joining groups. The next thing you're going to do, you don't necessarily have to do it on this call, but you now have access to the data to figure out which areas specifically you're going to focus on. If you're living in an area that you would like to cover, just do that research I told you. Type that area in these groups, have a scroll through. You will see for yourself whether it's worth covering them, right? Okay. And then qualified investor list. So let's just go down. So you will find thousands of investors that are already looking for rent-to-rent deals in your areas in these free Facebook groups. I've just kind of given you the initial message to send them. So just again, in case you didn't hear it, it was, hey, Ashton, how's it going? Hope you're well. I just saw your comment on a rent-to-rent deal in London. Are you still looking for deals like that at the moment? A message along those lines. You don't have to say it exactly the same as me, guys. I do suggest sending it as a voice note. I think voice notes come across way better. It's good to show people you're a real person. It's not, you know, just a spammer, just, you know, a robot or AI. This is a real person. Someone sent me, one of the new guys in the program sent me a video today that he's been sending to investors and getting a really good response on. And I know some people also have been doing that. Not everybody's comfortable with recording videos. So again, you don't have to do that. That's not what everybody's done. Most people have just sent written or voice notes. But these are little things that you can do to give yourself the edge and, you know, come across a little bit different to the investors. Remember, they're so used to just getting the same old messages every day, same old written messages. Doesn't matter what people are saying in it. It's just another written message. You know, they might get the odd voice note, but when they do, it's kind of like, oh, this is different. Most people just write to me. So then when they get a video, they're blown away. He literally said to me, every investor that's responded has been like, oh, this is different. This is refreshing to see. You're showing your face, you're talking, you're explaining. And literally all he's saying in that video is exactly what I just said to Ashton. Literally. Just like, hi, how's it going? Hope you're well. I just saw your comment on a rent-to-rent deal in blah 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 area. Just checking if you're still looking for deals like that at the moment. Done. That's it. Straight to the point. Already got investors responding saying, yes, I'm still looking. And now he can go on to getting them on the phone and qualifying them, right? So super important. If you ever have any issues getting them on a phone call, which sometimes you will have, because again, we're complete strangers to these people. So not everyone's going to be happy with giving their phone number out straight away. And actually, some of them, that's going to be based on bad experiences with other co-sources, you know. It might not necessarily actually be about the fact that they're giving a number out. It's just kind of like, I've given my number to so many sources, they've not done anything with it. What's the point giving it to you, right? If that's the case, I like to suggest a free Facebook call. So in the actual messenger, when you're speaking to these guys, if you look in the top right hand corner, there's this little phone icon, and if you press it, you can have a phone call without exchanging phone numbers. So you're actually having the phone call, but it's via Facebook, and it's still a phone call. It's exactly the same. And what near enough happens every single time is by the end of that call, they give you their phone number anyway. They give you all the information you need, because by the end of the call, you've introduced yourself to each other. The ice has been broken. You've had some banter. He sees your character. You see his character. Everything is a little bit more human, right? And this is the thing. This is like the one thing that stops people selling more deals, is that they're not overcoming that human gap, and they're not realizing that we're dealing with human beings and they need that human interaction for them to feel comfortable to work with us. They're spending thousands of pounds with us, guys, £3,000 at a time, right? They need to be comfortable with us. So these type of things help. So I might say, okay, Ashton, look, no problem. Rather than you give me your phone number, why don't we just jump on a quick Facebook call? Are you free? You free in 10 minutes? You free now? Something along those lines, right? And again, okay, look, let's do it. Jump on a call. By the end of that call, you've qualified them with all your qualifying questions and you have all the information you need, right? You're ready to go. Super, super important that you approach these investors in the right way. Like I was just saying to Kathleen, you can send all the messages that you want, but if the messaging isn't right, no one's going to respond, right? Of course, they have to open the message first, right? To even be aware of whether you've messaged them the right way or not. But for those who do open the message, everything has to be done correctly. Yeah. Is everyone clear on that? Does that make sense in terms of the investors? I think I already gave you the examples of what to say. The way you're going to find them is actually in the comment sections within the deals, right? So just to be clear, so for example, I'm covering Manchester, so I go back into those Facebook groups. In the search box, I type in Manchester, I hit enter, and then again, Facebook. Look, Facebook makes the job easy. I just need to type the city in, and it will grab all of the posts in that group. Remember what I said to you, these posts go back years and years. It will grab them all and put them all in a list for me, and I just need to scroll through them. And I scroll through all of the rent-to-rent deals for sale in Manchester. That's the area I'm covering. And the comment sections, every time I see that there's comments on a post, I go into the comments and I can literally see all of the investors that have expressed interest in the deal. They're literally in there. I'm interested. Oh, send me more information. They're asking questions. Some people even leave their emails or their phone numbers and things like that, but they're expressing interest in the deal. And it's just, look, there's no rocket science behind it. It's straightforward. It's, if you're interested in a rent-to-rent deal in Manchester now, or you was interested in a rent-to-rent Manchester deal, then if I can find you a rent-to-rent Manchester deal, it's very likely you'll be interested in it if you're still looking, right? So it goes back to that original interaction. I want to find out, you're still looking? If you're still looking, great. Let's have a chat. Let me walk you through how I can help you, right? So everybody's clear on that. Yeah, give me a yes. Everybody's clear on how to find the investors, what to say to them now. Brilliant. Amazing. I just saw someone left a comment asking a question. So let me just find that and answer it. Okay. O. Robinson said, Gary, why cover my area? Nothing will left. Nothing will... Oh, is Manchester your area? Is that what you're saying? Don't worry. I'll leave some business for you. Don't you worry. Okay. Brilliant. Okay, everybody understands what they need to do. Okay, we'll move on to the next step. So again, quick recap. We have the free Facebook groups, which open us up to all the data for us to figure out the areas we want to cover, and also opens us up to all the people so that we can start reaching out to the reaching out to the investors that are expressing interest in those areas, so that we can get them on a phone call to qualify them and build our investor list. And the whole thought process behind that is, like I said to you guys, you're picking 3 areas. So if I pick Manchester, London, Birmingham, the aim is to have a list for London, a list for Birmingham, a list for Manchester. 10 qualified investors in one area, 20 qualified investors, however many. But they all need to be qualified and specifically looking for a rent-to-rent deal in that city to be added to my list, right? And the point of that is that now that we have those lists of people, whenever we secure a deal, our chances of selling those deals significantly increase, right? Because we're able to go directly to them. Whereas most deal sources, they get a deal, they have to post it in the group, and they have to wait. They literally have to play the waiting game. They post the deal in the group and hope that the most serious investor that's ready to take that deal straight away just stumbles across it. And again, if you guys are in these groups, I mean, you're joining them now, but if you was in any before, you'll know there are tons of deals posted every day. You post your deal this morning, if a serious investor doesn't see it by this morning, by this afternoon, it's gone. It's already halfway down the page in the group. So posting the deal and just waiting for someone to express interest doesn't work. I mean, of course, on a rare occasion, yes, they may see it, and you might get lucky, but we don't want to base it on luck, right? We want to be able to actually have a system in place that works. So having that list built up front means that now when we switch our attention to finding the deals, we can just go back and forth, get the deals, put them in front of our qualified investor list, right? And you'll notice that all of the guys above that are selling all of those deals, and that was just me scratching the surface with those examples. But all of the guys in the program that are selling deals, this is literally what they're doing, and this is why they're able to sell deals so quickly. This is why Harry sold that deal in 2 hours. This is why Denise sold those 2 deals on that Sunday. This is why Charlie was able to make that 40K in the first 5 months. It's because they are not having to depend on post and hope. That's what I call it. I say to the guys, you got to do the post and hope strategy, which is what most deal sources do. You post in the group, leave it there. Hopefully someone serious sees it, right? But our approach is very different. And I'm actually going to go through the actual system we use once all of these foundations are laid in a second. But I think you guys get it in terms of the groups, picking your areas, and then building the lists around those areas, right? The reasoning behind it. So the next step is, now we've built the list, we need to feed the list. We need deals. So usually what people do is they go straight to trying to secure deals directly from the landlords. Again, it's wrong. You have to speak to a lot of landlords to get that first yes, usually, especially when you're just starting out, which most people are, right? That I come across anyway. So you need to like practice that and speak to a lot of landlords, get used to the approach, be saying the right things, right? I'm going to give you the right things to say, but you still got to get on the phone and actually say them. So the easier way to start selling deals and kind of like gain momentum is to work with other sources that are already selling deals. So as you can see here, the next step is your network, building your network. And I specifically put the co-sources and agents because you want to do it in that order. So we can find co-sources within those same groups again. I think I made a little section about that. I'm so sorry that the presentation has ended up like this, guys. Where is it? All right, so here, as you can see here, I don't know if you can see it in the background, but basically I said the quickest and easiest way to start selling deals and making money is to partner with other deal sources, right? So you will find thousands of co-sources that are operated in the exact same area as you inside those same free Facebook groups, okay? And what you're going to do is similar to how you found the investors, which was go back into those groups, type your area. So if it was Manchester, I'll use that as an example again. Sorry about that, Robinson. You go back in the group, you type your area, Manchester, you hit enter. If you was looking for the investors, as I told you guys, you would be looking in the comment sections of those deals to see who's interested and reach out to them and strike that relationship. But when you're building your network of co-sourcers, you're actually reaching out to the person that posted those deals. So you're going through, scrolling through that list, and everyone who's posted that rent-to-rent deal or a rent-to-rent deal in that city, you send them a message. And again, straightforward message. Hey, hey Ashton, how's it going? Look, I just saw that you posted a rent-to-rent deal in Manchester before. I'm actually covering the same area. I've got a ton of investors chasing me for deals right now. Would be great to have a quick chat about how we can work together. Done. Even if Ashton doesn't have that deal anymore, that's fine, because the fact that he's operated in that area is enough data for me. That's all I need to know, because he's going to get more deals in that area, right? I might have missed out on that one, but tomorrow he might get another deal in Manchester, because he's actively securing deals there already. So we put our heads together and we're going to sell a lot of deals, and all we need to do is split it down the middle, 50-50. He takes 1,500, I take 1,500, everybody's happy, on to the next deal. And we've actually split our workload as well, because rather than him having to go out and find that buyer for this deal, which of course he's trying to find a buyer, but rather than him really putting the time and effort into going out and finding that buyer, I've come along and I've got the buyer straight away, and I can handle the buyer. So I deal with everything on the investor side, he deals with everything on the landlord side, and we're kind of like splitting that workload in half, right? Whereas, of course, if he had to sell the deal himself directly to his investor, he's dealing with both parties. He's got to deal with both sides. He's got to chase. He's got to have the conversations. He's got to deal with everything. But if I'm dealing with one side, it releases some stress from him and vice versa. And we can actually get the deal done maybe even quicker, because, as you guys know, two heads are better than one, right? So very important that you have that network built. I've just shown you how you can very quickly find those people. This is, again, exactly what the guys above have done. They're just connecting with the right people, nurturing those relationships. We catch up with our networks every Monday. So again, communication is key, guys. If you just have a quick chat with your network, if you take the time to lay that foundation first, build the network, and you just tap in with them every Monday, I can almost guarantee that every week you're going to have deals. That's literally what we do. And it's actually quite scary how on Sunday you might not have anything to sell, because throughout that week you've dealt with everything that you had. And then by Monday, just by having a couple of conversations with the people that are actively securing deals in your network, same area, you can end up with 4 or 5 deals. This literally happens every Monday. We do support calls in the program every day, Monday to Friday. So on every Monday call, I literally have that same conversation. They've secured another batch of deals, but that's only because the foundation was laid first, and now they're nurturing those relationships. Right? Is that clear? Does everyone understand exactly what they need to do in terms of the co-sourcing network? Just give me a yes, if that makes sense. Linda, brilliant. Linda said you're doing well without the presentation. Thank you, Linda. I am really trying to make this work. I can't explain how appreciative I am of you guys' patience that you're even allowing me to do this. But I'm just hoping that me reading through it helps rather than you having to see it. I've got to figure out how you can do a presentation on Zoom without the person that's watching being able to edit it. I don't know what it is. I had the same problem on the last one as well. I don't know how you do it. I don't know. Deal sourcing is my expertise, guys, not Zoom, unfortunately. But I'm working on it. But thank you. Okay, so everybody understands, yeah? Okay, brilliant. I can see another question. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Mo said, my question is, if we are a source, if we as a sourcer can join and see the deal, then the investor can even join the group and see the deal. So how can we sell them the deal when everything is open? Good question. Very good question. And it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. So a few things. First thing, these groups are too busy for all of the serious investors to find the deals that are posted in them, unfortunately, right? One of the most important parts of having this investor list is being able to go direct. And the reason why is because you'll find the most serious investors are very busy. They don't have time to sit on Facebook scrolling through looking for deals. They just don't. And that's why the guys who just post deals in the groups and don't focus on having the investors first struggle in a lot of cases, because the people that they need to see the deals are not there. They're not sitting on Facebook scrolling through. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, they might pop in, have a look. one deal might sell, but that's just that one sourcer that got lucky that that serious investor saw it that day. But what about the hundreds of others that are posting deals in the groups as well? Everybody's just getting lost in the noise. So I can almost guarantee you that 95% of the deals you send to your qualified list that you've got from a deal sourcer, they have not seen it. They have not seen it in most cases, right? So you genuinely you won't have to worry about that. And if they have seen the deal, that's fine. You just explain to them that okay, well, that came from a sourcer within my network that I partner up with. Again, transparency. You guys will notice my whole thing is transparent. We're not trying to pretend or hide anything. We're fine with telling our investors that we're co-sourcing and we're partnering with other sources, and they're fine with it as well. That was one from our sourcer, one of our partners. You've already seen it, no problem. Look, something else comes up, I'll get it straight over to you. You know, it happens. But good question, very good question, because it is something that sometimes people actually allow to hold them back. You know, it's little things like that that sometimes people will allow to stop them taking action and actually doing this. Because in your mind, you might be thinking, "Oh, well, actually, how's that going to work? How would that sit with the investors? Are they going to be open to that?" And I don't want to come across unprofessional, but I promise you, everything goes back to the relationship you got with these people and how we first approach them is crucial, because we're not trying to sell them anything. You know, we're not trying to sell them a bad deal or do anything shady. We're just straightforward. Look, my job is to present you opportunities that seem to fit what you're looking for. They might not always fit specifically, but I'm going to present them to you and we're going to have a discussion. And if it's a no, that's fine. I'll just continue sending you opportunities until the right deal comes about. And some of those deals that I'm going to send you, I may not have secured directly, but that's because I've got a network. And honestly, no exaggeration, Mo, if you're having on the level, transparent, honest conversations like that, they're not going to have an issue with it. We don't have that issue at all, genuinely. But good question. Okay. Kathleen said, what would you say is the best way to approach? You're going too fast, Kathleen. Just 1 second. I'm going to get to it. I promise. I promise. I promise. I promise. Okay. So the next step. So again, quick recap. 3 Facebook groups, high demand areas, 3 maximum, qualified investor list, right? Then the network, the first part of the network. So we have to do this in order. It's going to be much quicker for you to get a deal from a co-sourcer than it is to get a deal from an agent. And remember, the co-sourcer has already done the legwork. When the co-sourcer presents a deal to you, it's already secured, it's already packaged, it's ready to be sold. You don't need to speak to that landlord or like try and secure the deal or negotiate like it's done. He's just saying, look, I've got the deal, I've packaged it, everything's secured, it's ready. I just need a buyer. So all you need to do is present that deal to your list and sell it, right? So it's much, much quicker to sell a deal from a co-sourcer than it is from an agent. And again, a lot of sourcers get that wrong. They go and they start speaking to agents before they even give co-sourcers the time of day, not realizing that agent has to get the landlord to even be open to what we're proposing first. Once they're open to it, we have to go back and forth and do our due diligence and put forward a proposal. Then we need to try and get it secured formally in writing, right? There's like a process. Now, don't get me wrong, that process isn't very, very long, but in comparison to I reach out to Ashton, who's already in the group selling deals or has deals, but maybe struggling to sell them. And he says, yeah, I've got deals right now. Look, here's one, Manchester. And I can just send it straight out to my list. I'll have a quick look at it. I will have a quick look at the numbers to make sure it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I'll communicate with Ashton. Hey, look, just had a quick look at the numbers. I'm seeing something different. Can you just send me an example of how you got to those numbers, right? I work with him. This is where people go wrong. They are not working with their co-sources. It's almost like you're against each other until the deal gets done, right? You're supposed to put your heads together, work your magic, and make it work. So that's the difference of going straight to the agents over speaking with the sources first. So that's what you're going to do first. Is everyone clear on the sources side before I go into the agents? Just give me a yes or a thumbs up if that makes sense. I'm still trying to navigate this screen. Everyone said, yeah. Oh, don't don't worry, Kathleen. Don't worry. I think I might have been going a little because this is the thing, guys. You'll probably know I'm very passionate about this. So once I get going with the explaining, I can go for a long time. So apologies if I'm going a little bit slower than I should. I'm going to speed it up. Okay, everyone's cool with that. Okay, perfect. All right, so that was the co-sources. So now the agents, like Kathleen said. So of course we want to be speaking with agents as well. The agents are going to have really good relationships with landlords. This is their line of business, right? Agents are putting advertising, marketing out there to get landlords on board. Landlords are literally walking into the office and giving them keys, giving them properties. So these are people we need to be in relationships with, right? Very, very important. Now, I can't find my little landlord breakdown. It's gone missing, but that's fine. Where is it? Oh, sorry, no, not landlords. We're speaking about agents now, aren't we? Where's the agent part gone? Okay, well, I can't see it because it's moved around the presentation, but pretty much how we are approaching the agents is very straightforward. We use Google. So I know some people like to go on like Rightmove and Zoopla and reach out to agents about specific properties, right? Some of you guys may do that, or that's the way that you would have approached it. But I actually find that the much better approach is to just go directly to the agent, straight to the office. So what I do is I get on Google, I type in small independent agents, Birmingham, London, whatever area I'm covering. I hit enter, I scroll down, and again, similar to Facebook, Google makes it easy for me. It gives me a list of all of the agents in that city, right? In a list. I just scroll down and you'll see there'll be like a little map. You click on it and then you'll see all the local agents, and it gives us all of their phone numbers straight to their offices. And all I'm doing is I'm calling into the office. I'm asking to speak to the letting manager, sorry, and I'm finding out whether or not they deal with corporate lets. Very straightforward. Um, some agents are going to know what you're talking about. Some aren't. I'll be honest. Nowadays, a lot more agents know exactly what you're talking about because they get approached about these types of deals so much. So the conversation is sometimes a little bit easier. Um, you're going to hear a lot of no's from agents, a lot of no's, which is again why I say to you about getting your network of co-sources up and running first is more important. You'll get a lot more deals from them, a lot quicker. But the good thing about an agent is once you do get a yes, so if they say they do deal with corporate lets, and yeah, they're happy to let you know when they've got properties available that fit. Now you've got a strong relationship and they can give you a lot of deals, a lot of opportunities, right? So yeah, again, in terms of a script, I don't have a script per se when I'm speaking to them. Sort of a script. I'm just asking to speak to the lettings manager or whoever deals with corporate lets in the office. And when they get on the phone, I'm kind of going to go from there because if they know about corporate lets, I don't have to explain to them what it is. It's more just, okay, you deal with it. Great. Anything at the moment on your books? Anything sitting empty for a while that landlord might be open to a company taking it on? Like I'm having that kind of conversation because we've kind of already passed that. It's either going to be they deal with it or they don't. The agent conversation is quite straightforward. The agents, they don't really have time to mess about. As if any of you guys are calling agents already, you'll know they're going to tell you flat out yes or no. You know, which I like, to be honest. I like the straightforward approach. And if they do, then it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get opportunities from them immediately. Usually what happens is they'll just put you on a mailing list, and when something comes up, they'll let you know. But this is, again, it goes back to what I said about your network of co-sources. We don't want to wait for them to send us an opportunity, to be honest. Great, add us to your mailing list. That's amazing. But I'm not going to depend on you sending me that opportunity. You're now going to go into part of my schedule. So I catch up with you. Same way, like I said to you guys, you catch up with your co-sources every week. You might catch up with your agents every other week or every week, depending on how much time you've got. But just touching base will very, very quickly start to produce opportunities for you that you didn't expect. But you have to stay on top of it, right? This is where a lot of people go wrong. I have people. We just had an example about 2 months ago of one of the guys saying to me, Gary, trying to get hold of agents. I've got a few agents that said they're open to working with me over like the past couple of weeks. Nobody sent me anything, right? I said, you're sitting waiting for them to send you something. I said, that's not the way it works. These guys are busy. Rent to rent, corporate lets isn't their actual line of business. That's something we have to remember. You know, when a letting agent is advertising a property, it's for a traditional tenant. They're looking for an AST. So we're not going to come straight into their mind always. But if I'm giving them a call every now and then and stay in contact with the lettings manager, creating that relationship, they might start remembering me. But also on those calls, I can ask the questions. You know, like I said, this gentleman said he wasn't getting opportunities. So I said to him, look, let's make some phone calls to them, which we do a lot in the group. We do live calls together. So we got the agent on the phone, 1 or 2 agents on the phone that he had already spoken to and had said, yes, they're open to working with him. And he just asked the right questions. He's, like I said, asking, has anything come up? Have you got any landlords that you've spoken to that might be open to a company taking the property on? Is there any properties that have been sitting on the books that, you know, for whatever reason you're struggling to fill, where the landlord might be open to a company renting it instead? Like, just having those conversations, and all of a sudden out of the blue, it's like, oh yeah, actually, yeah, we've got this one person, actually, this one's been sitting there empty for a while. I'll have a chat with the landlord. Goes away, has a chat with the landlord, comes back, landlord's like, yeah, curious, interested. Let me know a little bit more about it. And that was literally just from him making a call. This is someone that's, you know, the landlord's sitting on their books. He hasn't thought to give that person a call. So we have to make that call, you know? So very important. Of course, get yourself through the doors first. This is why having these foundations are so important, to start the relationship, but you also have to remember to stay in contact with them. It's crucial, super, super important. Is that clear? Does that make sense, everyone? So let me know in the chat. Give me a yes. Kathleen said you're speaking to them on the phone or in person? On the phone. Everything's on the phone. Just to rewind, this whole process is remote. I'm not meeting anybody in real life. Nobody. Just to be clear. So I'm not meeting agents. I'm not meeting landlords. I'm not meeting investors. I'm not, unless I want to, for whatever reason. Like, there are some investors that I've gone and met. Usually that's only because it's been convenient for me to meet them. They're local in the area, they're in London, or, you know, but I'm not going out and meeting out of my way to meet anyone. And even those people I have met is a very rare occasion. Like I said, I've sold hundreds of deals, but I've only met a handful of my investors, right? So again, we're having that conversation on the phone. We're literally having that conversation on the phone. I'm good on the phone, better. I'm good on the phone, better than in person. Yes. Okay. So, and so, you know, that's good, Linda, because some people struggle on the phone, really struggle on the phone with like their confidence. And, you know, so if you're someone that's good, I always say to the people in the program, if you're someone that's confident on the phone, you give yourself a head start, because most people aren't. Most people are not confident with communicating in general. You know, I see it. I've worked with hundreds of deal sources now. So I know firsthand that people really, really struggle with just talking to people, whether it's phoning agents, whether it's phoning landlords, whether it's sending voice notes to investors or having that first phone call with investors. There are a lot of people that shy away from it, you know. So I always say the people that are confident and like, just, it's nothing to them, it's second nature to them, you're always going to have the edge. And I see it firsthand in the program. Those people who come in and they're like, yeah, phone calls are just second nature to me, you know, they don't necessarily have to have experience in it, but they're just happy to do it, they're open to doing it. Those people always have a little bit of an edge, right? Whereas the people who are like, Gary, I don't want to take phone calls, you know, they're like, I mean, there's not a problem with you saying you don't want to have it, but if I work closely with you and I kind of like we do live calls together or whatever it is to help you get confident, and you still aren't willing to have certain conversations, you're going to struggle. Because like I said, like earlier on in the presentation, we're dealing with human beings. You have to be open to having conversations, right? But yeah, I mean, outside of that, you don't have to meet anyone in person. So as long as you're happy with that, this strategy will work very well for you. Okay. All right. I can't see any other questions. So let's move on. So that was the agents, right? So last but of course not least is the motivated landlords and developers. And I know some of this writing is covering this section. Apologies again, guys. Like I said, thank you for bearing with me. But basically it says motivated landlords and developers, right? Of course, we've spoken about getting yourself in the groups, picking your areas, your high demand areas, building your qualified investor list, right? So not just adding any and everyone to the list. These are people you're getting on calls with, asking qualifying questions to. Actually, on that point, guys, I think I skipped past it. In terms of the qualifying questions, if anybody would like me to give them my qualifying questions, send me a DM on School. So not on here, on the School app. Send me a DM just reminding me to send them to you. You can just say like qualifying questions or something like that, just to remind me, right? For those of you who are on this call, and I'm going to give you my qualifying questions so that you know what to say with these investors when you first speak with them, okay? I'm not going to post it in the group. I'm not going to reach out to you and send it. You have to reach out to me. So that's a little incentive for you to shoot me a message, and then I'll send that over to you. You can send it now and I'll do it after the call, or you can do it after the call, whichever is easier. But qualifying questions, right? So, where was we? Motivated landlords and developers. So, of course, once we have built our list and we now need deals, we've built our network of co-sourcers, we've built our network of letting agents, we have deals coming in from both of those. Now we can start to speak with landlords, right? And literally, I don't let my guys start speaking with landlords directly until they have activity from their network. So as in deals are coming in, deals are being sent to their investors, viewings are happening, offers are happening, and of course that's going to lead to sales. But I need that activity happening first before we switch our attention to the landlords, which is, of course, as I said, a little bit of a longer process, right? But once we're there, it's again very straightforward process. We are using classified websites to find our landlords. So Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace, Pre-Loved, The Loot, anywhere where a landlord can advertise their own property, we're finding them, right? My favorite is Gumtree because I can call them. They put their phone numbers on the site, and all we're doing is we're just finding the properties for let in the cities that we're covering. So we're not changing filters and trying to find the specific properties that fit what the investor said at the start. This is something that's really important, guys, because that's another thing that people have really I think have taken out of context, and it may have slowed some people down, is that what they're doing is they're building their investor list, and then based on the specific criteria the investor says. So, they're looking for a rent-to-rent deal in Manchester, but they might have mentioned, ideally I want a 2-bed in this postcode and blah, 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 like the finer details. The problem is they now turn around and attempt to specifically find those properties for those people, and that's not the way you want to do it, right? That's too small. You need to it needs to be a bigger activity, as in I'm not trying to find specific properties. I'm reaching out to every landlord that has a property available in that city, every single one, right? And you might think, okay, well, but if they said that, why would you look at that? Well, what we found was that really the non-negotiables are the city and the type of deal. So it's a rent to rent, and that it's in Manchester or London or wherever. And what happened was people on the list that gave us like super specific criteria, the finer details, a lot of them ended up buying different deals anyway. So if we like focus solely on finding those particular deals for them, the problem was if they didn't take it, someone else might not take it, and then we're like back to square one because we've put all of our eggs in the basket for that one type of deal, thinking they would take it. Whereas if we just grab all of the deals we can in the city, right, just grab all of them and present them to our list, have conversations with our investors about the opportunities, find out what their objections are, find out what their thoughts are. If they're interested, find out if we can get them through the doors. We found that generated way more activity. So when you're reaching out to your landlords, I don't want you to be specific about the finer details. When you go on Gumtree or Facebook or however you're going to find them, I just want you to be looking at the city, and of course that it's a rental. That's it. And just reach out to everyone. And the conversation you're going to have with those landlords, and okay, this part is actually still okay to go through. So when you sell a deal that you secured directly from a landlord, you walk away with the full £3,000 fee. I think I mentioned that earlier. That's, of course, if you're selling it to your own investor. So this is really the part of the process where you make the most money. And I think that's why a lot of people rush to try and do that part, not realizing that although it's the part you make the most money, it's the part that maybe takes the longest to do if you go down that route, right? So we find the motivated landlords for free, again, on classified websites, like I said, Gumtree, for example. I like to get them on the phone straight away rather than message them. But if you know, when you're on the other platforms, you haven't got a choice, so you got to shoot them a message. But essentially, when I get them on the phone, I'm asking the most simplest question that I can to allow them to understand what it is I'm talking about. Because a lot of the landlords you speak to have no idea what corporate let is, rent to rent, company let, any of these terms even mean. Because really, those terms are all investor terms. It's what we use when we're speaking to our investors. But landlords, again, they are not marketing their properties looking for rent to rents, right? They're marketing it looking for a traditional tenant, someone that's going to come and live in the property and, you know, on a traditional AST and just pay them the rent, right? Whereas what we're approaching them about is, of course, a little different. So I like to ask them, can a company rent this property? Or are you okay with a company renting this property, right? Rather than doing the whole, oh, are you okay with a company let or corporate let? Or because I noticed that actually you just confuse a lot of them. And once they're confused, as I said to you guys earlier, you scare them off. When people get confused, they walk away. You know, they stop answering calls, they stop responding. So I like to say it in that way because even if they don't completely understand what I'm talking about, I found that it makes people curious because it's easy to understand. Oh, you're talking about a company renting my property. All right. When I put it on the market, I was looking for just an individual, but oh, company might sound a little bit more secure, right? So we have that conversation. If they're open to having it with us, we explain to them what the benefits are. And there are a lot of benefits with rent to rents, right? And you know, you need to let them know that because again, they're not going to be aware of it. So, for example, guaranteed rent, no void periods, right? Which is of course a big concern for landlords, right? A property sitting empty. Well, if the company is going to take the property on and pay them even if it's sitting empty, then that's a benefit for them. Okay, no maintenance costs. The company covers all the maintenance, or as long as it's not anything major with the actual structure of the building, for example. But all of the normal, you know, cosmetic maintenance jobs, they cover all of those, right? No management costs. Although this is a company taking the property on and they're going to have their own tenants and guests, they are not going to charge you a management cost. They're still going to just be paying you what's been agreed. So once you start explaining that to the landlord, it's a different angle from what they expected when they marketed their property. But as you're seeing from all the deals that we're selling, a lot of landlords are open to it. They see the value in it, right? So very important to be careful the language you're using when you're speaking to these landlords, right? Super important. And as simple as that sentence is, or that question is, works very, very well for us. And like I said, you can kind of like ask it in different ways. You don't have to ask it exactly like that. But essentially, you're just asking them whether a company can rent the property if they're open to that. Is everyone clear on that? Does that make sense? Rabbi said yes. Ashton said yes. Okay. So we're securing these deals with a document called the Heads of Terms. Um, Again, a lot of deal sources don't necessarily do that, but what I find is that in a lot of cases they end up in situations where they lose the deals, right? Because there's nothing to sort of prove that they actually secured it. Whereas every deal we do, we either have our heads of terms signed, which is just the document that outlines what we've discussed, what we proposed, what the landlord's happy with, or we at least get that all confirmed. So pretty much exactly what's in the heads of terms, we'll get it confirmed in an email, and then we'll just get them to respond confirming they're happy with it. But either way, we have to have something in black and white from the landlord confirming that they're happy with what we're agreeing. Yeah. Jamie said, let me go to your question, Jamie. What are you agreeing in your heads of terms with the landlords, rent, term, exclusive? Yeah, so everything, literally what you just said. So all of the terms, like you said, the monthly payment, how long this agreement's for, the break clause, if there's a break clause. Near enough every deal you do is going to have a break clause. So break clause, and anything else, every deal is different. So there isn't one way to do it. So whatever it is that you have agreed with the landlord will go into that document to basically just say, yes, I agree with what you've proposed. It's not a legally binding document. So let me just be clear on that. It's not legally binding. So the landlord could still decide at some point, I don't want to go ahead with this, right? And change their mind, which they're within their rights to do. That's based on the heads of terms. That's prior to them signing the final contract, which is the lease agreement. Once they sign the lease agreement, that's it. The deal is done and dusted, and that's when you get paid your sourcing fee, and the investor gets the keys. But prior to that, you want to have something in black and white. And although it's not, it's not a legally binding document, it is something that you could use if you needed to prove that you found the deal, you secured the deal. It's something good to refer to. And there's been cases where a landlord has turned around just as the investor's about to purchase a deal, and maybe it said, oh, I want to change what the monthly rent was, I want to increase it, or and maybe acts like the initial conversation that's what they said. But if you have your heads of terms signed, they can't do that. That's why we never have that issue, because we can always refer to what we put in black and white. No, when we had our first conversation, this was the rent you was happy with, this is the term you was happy with, etc., etc., etc. So it's just good to have these things written down, so you can refer to them if you need to. We've never really had to ever, but I'm all about safeguarding. So is everyone clear on that document? Inside our program, you actually get every document that you need to operate this business. I'll speak about the program later on, but just so you know, so all the guys above that you see with the results, when they joined the program, they got a full pack with all of the docs. So your heads of terms, non-disclosure agreements, your lease agreements, even some of the documents that you use when you're doing your AML, you get all of those when you join the program. So I know some people are reading this thinking, well, where do I even get that document from? Well, I can help you with that. Okay, so that's the landlords, and it's very similar approach with the developers. To be honest, you kind of just end up speaking with developers in most cases. You can either call directly into developer offices, which again is just a case of going on Google, typing in developers, whichever area you're covering, and just calling in. Or you can end up speaking with them just through the outreach you're doing to landlords anyway. And I'll give you a good example of this. We done a live call out session with Kent, one of the examples I showed you, one of the guys in the program. Me and him done a call out session to landlords, and we ended up speaking with a freeholder of so the actual owner of the whole building. This was on Gumtree, by the way, guys. So we called about one flat. So we saw the flat and we were just calling the landlord just as part of our exercise, just calling them just to have the normal conversation. And when we got her on the phone, and she was obviously kind of like happy with how we was approaching the conversation. And so she told us, she's like, oh, well, just so you know, I haven't put it in the ad, but I actually own the whole building. And me and Kent was like, oh my God, gold mine, jackpot. Didn't even know. There was literally no signs at all that this was the owner of the whole building. We just thought this was the person that owned the one flat. And we just happened to stumble across that because we were actively reaching out to landlords on Gumtree. So it's the same approach, similar conversation. Of course, a developer is more likely to have multiple units that you can take on. So that conversation is going to be a little bit different from taking on one unit, but it's pretty much the same thing. A company will rent the property from them or the building from them. There'll be an agreed rent, there'll be an agreed term, and it will be the same process. You'll have an investor on your list that may take the whole building or take multiple units, depending on, again, what the developer wants. Some developers will say, okay, you can sell individual units, you'll get rid of individual units, how you do, or no, I want to only deal with one company, so it has to be whoever takes this on has to take on the whole block, so I don't have to run around and deal with different people. But every developer is different, so you have to deal with them at the time. But yeah, that's how you're going to get in contact with these guys directly and get yourself through the doors. Is that clear? Is everybody clear on how that approach works? Is there anything that you need me to go back over? Rabbi said yes. Linda said yes. Everybody's okay with that? Kathleen said, is the heads of terms before the viewing or after? Before. Good question, Kathleen. See, this is why I'm saying to you guys, as I'm speaking, please feel free to fire away the questions, because there are going to be certain small things that I'm just like going past without even realizing. Because that is a very good question. So yes, the heads of terms does need to be signed before we start sending our investors up to view these properties. Because when you're talking about viewings, you're talking about the investors viewing, right? Because as I said, you don't need to go and view it, and you definitely don't need to go and view it before an investor does, right? If you are going to go to viewings, guys, wait until it's a viewing with an investor that's interested in the deal. Don't waste your time going to view the property prior to generating interest or prior to even securing the deal, because I can't tell you how many landlords you're going to go and meet and they'll waste your time. Once you have the conversation with them about the company let in person, there and then at that viewing, they're going to turn around and say no. Some, of course, there's going to be some that will be happy with it, but it's less of a blow when you have that conversation on the phone and hear the no, right? Rather than driving right across the country to hear no. It just doesn't make sense, right? So, like I said, if you are going to do viewings, wait until you've secured the deal over the phone, you've got an investor that's interested in your list and they want to view it. Then I would say, okay, use that as your reason to go and view it. You can go meet the investor at the same time at the property and the landlord. Yeah. Okay. Good question, Kathleen. Sarah said, the heads of terms, is it signed between you and the owner? So the heads of terms is signed between us and the owner, the deal sourcer and the owner. And again, that document is literally just for you. It's your piece of proof, piece of evidence, I suppose you could call it, that you found this deal, you secured this deal. Because if there was, and this has never happened to me, like I said, but let's just say, as an example, if an investor tried to take the deal from under your nose without paying you, and you forgot to get your NDA signed with them, which should never happen. The investor should always sign your NDA before they get full information about the deal. But let's just say, for whatever reason, you slipped up, you sent it to them. If you was to go to court about it, at least you still had proof that you actually found the deal, right? You don't have the NDA signed with the investor. Hopefully, you maybe have some conversations in, on WhatsApp or text or something. But forget the investor side for a second. You can say, well, look, you can see clear as day, I found and negotiated and agreed this deal with the landlord. I have the heads of terms. The landlord can confirm it, right? And then we can kind of like, there's a clear timeline that I secured it now. All of us, I'm in contact with this investor. Clearly, I can show that. And all of a sudden, they're now taking this opportunity. I've made arrangements for them to view it. So it just helps. The more paperwork and more paper trail you have, it's going to help. Ideally, you don't ever want to be in that situation, but it's better to be safe than sorry, But good question as well, Sarah, definitely. So the actual, and just because the next question, which would be a good question, is, so what is signed between the investor and the landlord if it's not the heads of terms? Well, that would be the actual lease agreement. So that's the final contract that actually completes the deal, essentially. That says, okay, this company, which is the investor, is going to be leasing the property from this landlord for such and such amount of time, paying such and such amount each month, etc., etc. That is the document that's going to be signed between those two parties. You don't sign that because the deal sourcer steps away from the actual deal. We're not involved in the actual deal itself. This heads of terms document is about us securing the deal up front. Okay? Does that make sense? I just want to make sure that makes sense, Sarah, before I move on. Okay, brilliant. All right. I see there's more questions, so let's quickly go through those. Linda said, Gary, do we negotiate first and then post the deal? Are you talking about negotiate with the landlord first before you post the deal? I'm assuming that's what you mean. And yes, so what's going to happen is, it's not so much negotiating, it's more giving them the proposal. But I suppose, yeah, you could call it negotiating, because what I mean is, When we first approached them about the property we've seen on Gumtree, for example, once we've got past that initial conversation, they've said yes, they're open to what we're proposing. Um, we're going to take the information about the property and we're going to go away and do our due diligence. So we're going to look at comparable properties in the area similar to that one within close proximity to make sure that what this landlord is asking for would even work for what we're proposing. Because we're going to use our calculations. Some people have deal calculators, some people just do it manually. I've got both. But basically, I can look at the average nightly rate, for example, if it's going to be for a rent to SA, and I can look at what the landlord's asking for, put it in my calculations and see this isn't going to work based on what the landlord wants and what this property would go for. And then in that situation, yes, I'd probably have to negotiate, go back and say, well, look, I've had a look and what you're asking for may not work for what my clients are looking for. Is there any wiggle room? Can we agree at this amount, that amount? So yeah, you do kind of do a little bit of negotiating up front, but I'll give you, I'll answer it in a different way. Even if you wasn't able to negotiate the deal that you think is the good deal, right? So let's say we'll use that same example. I'm speaking with a landlord. She's open to what I'm proposing in terms of doing a rent to rent, essentially, or a company renting the property. I've done my due diligence. From what I can see, I feel like what the landlord's asking for is too much, and the deal might not stack up 100%. Well, if that's the case, I have the luxury of going to my list and asking them, right? Whereas most deal sources don't have that luxury. They look at a deal, they do their numbers. If it looks like it doesn't work, and they can't get the landlord to say yes, I'll go with it, they have to leave it because they haven't got a choice, really, you know. So they're kind of stuck in that situation. Whereas you, if you guys are following what I'm giving you, you've built a list up front, remember, qualified list. So now you can go to 10, 15, 20 people that are all looking for deals in this city and say, hey, look, I'm speaking with a landlord, open to what I'm proposing. I'm having a look at the numbers. We're going back and forth. It's not agreed just yet. So it's back to that whole being fully transparent. This is not agreed just yet. The landlord's open to it, but we're still having the conversation. This is what they want. This is what I think. What's your thoughts? And no exaggeration. Who asked the question again? It was Linda. No exaggeration, Linda. We've sold so many deals that way because the investors tell us, okay, well, Gary, look, if you can get it agreed at this amount, I'd be interested. If you can get it at that amount, I'd be interested. Oh, actually, no, landlord, that's actually not bad, Gary. It's not bad. If you can get £50, £100 off, it'd be more interesting, or whatever the conversation is. But you generate interest up front just by asking them what do they think of the deal. And then what happens is if I go back to the landlord and agree that whatever it is they suggested, now I've already got the people because I can go straight back to my list and say, well, I got it at the number that we spoke about. You ready? And then we've got people going through the door straight away. So we have that luxury because we've got the list. If we didn't have the list, we couldn't do that. So it's a good question, Linda. So like I said, it's kind of a two-way answer. Yes, you do kind of negotiate up front at first, but if for whatever reason you're not getting any luck or you're having issues figuring out what the numbers should be, lean on your list. Your list is the backbone of your business. It's actually quite ironic because on this diagram, the list is the qualified investor list literally sits right in the center, right? It's like the spine of the business. So you can refer to it whether you've got the deal agreed or not. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Linda. Let me know in the chat if that makes sense. Let's see. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing any questions, guys. Okay, Sarah. Okay, good question. How do you encourage the landlord to sign the heads of terms? Well, I don't really encourage them, to be honest. I just let them know, look, what I'm just going to send you my heads of terms document, and basically all this does is outline what we've discussed. You know, have a read through it because the heads of terms explains everything, and it even clearly says at the bottom, this is not a legally binding document. Like, just to let them know, this is just to confirm what you've said you're happy with initially. You know, the final agreement will be signed further on down the line, once both parties are happy with everything. This is just to say, this is what I've proposed to you. This is what you're okay with. So we have something in writing to move forward in. And I need to have this so that when I'm speaking with my clients, they know that I actually do have a real opportunity. So that's literally it. I don't really encourage them. I just have that conversation. And I've never really had a landlord turn around and say no, to be honest. And if they have turned around and said, I don't really want to sign anything, which does happen. So let me be honest with that. There are some landlords, that's usually what you'll get. Oh, I don't really want to sign anything just yet. You know, when you've got a client that's actually ready, then I'll sign, right? Because obviously at that point that I'm asking them to sign that, there's nobody there yet because we haven't even presented it to anyone yet. This is just me trying to secure the deal. So if that's the case and they're uncomfortable with it, which happens sometimes, I say, okay, look, no problem. Rather than signing, what I'll do is I'll just send you an email breaking everything down. And if you just respond to me and let me know whether or not you're still happy with that, that's fine. That'll be enough. Because as you guys probably know, and even an email stands up in court. You know, if I need to prove, again, the whole point of getting these documents signed is I want to have a paper trail. I want to have full control of the deal. I want to be in a position where somebody can't just come and take the deal from underneath my nose. So whether it's the heads of terms document being signed or an email confirming what we've agreed on, you know, I know it's not the final agreement, but it's what we've agreed on initially, then that's enough that if I needed to refer to it in court, it would stand up as a written document. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Kathleen said, especially when they have a lot of interest. Yeah, I mean, look, my whole approach is I want to start presenting this property to my clients as soon as possible. So if we can get this done, I know I've got a lot of people that will be interested. So, you know, and again, that's down to them. Because although they might have a lot of interest in terms of traditional tenants, there's been many times, you know, in a lot of cases where the landlord has gone with our option, has gone with the company option, even though they've got a lot of interest from traditional tenants. Because again, the whole point is the people we're speaking to, these landlords we're contacting on Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace and all these other sites, in a lot of cases, they're motivated landlords, as in they're tired of dealing with a traditional tenant. Yes, they're advertising for one, but really they don't want to have to manage a tenant. Remember, they're advertising these properties themselves. So if they took on a traditional tenant, they would be managing it. And a lot of them don't really want to do that. You know, it's just out of desperation in a lot of cases, right? So when a company comes along and says, no, I'll take the property on, you don't have to worry about anything. I'll just pay you every month, regardless of what's happening. And you leave it to me. I have what I need to do there, my business to operate. Most landlords, well, the motivated ones that we're speaking with anyway, are happy with that and they'll go with that, you know, even though they have interest from a lot of interest from other parties the traditional way. Yeah. So I hope that makes sense. Jamie said, if the investor signs the NDA but they go on a viewing with a landlord, do they just have to stay silent? Do you add a clause to the lease agreement that the investor can only get keys once your fees paid? Okay, so you're never going to be able to stop anyone from having a conversation once they meet in person, and this is a remote strategy, so that's a risk that we take. But to reduce that risk significantly, that's why we have to have these documents signed. So we have to have, before an investor is even given the address or full details or enough information for them to be able to cut us out, they have to sign our NDA. They have to. Otherwise, we won't provide the information. So we're securing ourselves on that side straight away. And then you've heard what we do on the landlord side. If it was a co-source deal, the co-sourcer has to sign our co-sourcing NDA before we book in that viewing. So again, we're secure on that side. So we're just securing ourselves on all sides. Conversations are going to happen when people meet in person, and that's fine. That's all well and good. But as long as everybody's clear on whatever happens, I have put this deal together. I have to be paid. Otherwise, everyone's liable, and everyone knows that. And I've never been cut out of a deal. And from what I've seen over the years, dealing with almost 200 people now, I don't think any, maybe one or two, but out of the hundreds, near enough nobody has been cut out of any deals, because the way that I approach this is we protect ourselves. We have to protect ourselves because we're doing this without being there physically. So yeah, we can't get them to stay silent, but the NDA clearly states that you can't cut us out. If you want to try and negotiate the deal without us being there and take it on, then you'll be liable and we can pursue you legally and you'll have to pay us the fee. And most investors can't bother with that hassle, so they'll just pay you, or they just won't even communicate with the landlord without you being involved. They'll keep you involved how you're supposed to be, right? So very important to get your paperwork signed. Super important. That's the first half of the question. The second half, you said, do you add a clause to the lease agreement that the investor can only get the keys once your fee is paid? No, I don't. Being honest, no, I don't. Again, that's down to relationships, taking full control of every deal, so everybody is clear. Like the landlord knows that I'm being paid by my client. They know that. How do they know that? Because they're not paying me. The landlord is not paying us, so they are fully aware that our job, which is finding these properties for the client, means the client pays us. So as long as you make it clear to your landlord that, okay, especially when everything's going well, which, if we're getting to a stage where investor is going to need to get keys, that would mean that the deal is going well. They're about to buy the deal, or they've bought the deal, or whatever the situation is. So we just make it clear to everyone, whether that's the agent or the landlord, that, okay, keys are not to be released until everything has been completed, which of course includes us being paid our fee for putting all of this together. And most of the people that you're going to work with, all of the people you're going to work with, are going to be happy with that. Because at the end of the day, they get what they want anyway, regardless. Yeah. So just about those relationships, I believe that actually in the NDA, it talks about, so it's not in the lease agreement, the final lease agreement, but in our NDA with the investor, it talks about the fee being due as soon as the final lease agreement is signed by both parties, right? So yeah, so everybody's clear on exactly how it goes. You're not going to get the keys until the fee's been paid, and if they take the keys without the fee being paid and nothing's been arranged with us, then we can pursue them legally. And again, most investors are not going to want that hassle. It's unnecessary. So yeah, haven't ran into that issue so far. Okay. Let me make sure I'm not missing any more. Okay, Mo said, if we find the deal in Gumtree and speak to the landlord to secure the deal, let's say that the landlord gets agreed but still advertise the property on Gumtree. When we talk to the investor about this deal and investor gets agreed to buy and after a while finds the deal on Gumtree, then the source still gets paid, of course, yeah. Because any deal that you introduce to that investor, they now have to pay you if they take it on. Doesn't matter whether they go and find the original advert that the property was. They didn't find that ad and then agree the deal before you presented it to them. So no, and if they take that property on, the fee is due. That's it. But Mo, honestly, just from this question and the question you asked before, I feel that you are worrying too much about the potential of somebody maybe cutting you out of a deal or you like losing out. But I can promise you, if you are getting your paperwork signed the way I'm trying to teach you to, then you will never have these issues. And remember, like I said, I've been in this business 13 years, hundreds of deals sold. If you want to forget about me, 3 years the program's been running, 200 plus people have come through the program, or almost, no, not 200 plus, almost 200 people have come through the program. And again, still haven't seen that issue. None of those issues happen with anyone, as long as they have got their paperwork signed. Now, what I will tell you is, you guys have probably seen some of the horror stories inside the Facebook groups about some of these deal sources that are scamming investors and taking money and the deal is not real and they disappear with the fee and things like that. Now, again, I always advise people not to take money up front for these deals, and that includes when you're working with co-sourcers. So if you work with a sourcer or you're trying to work with a sourcer and they say, well, look, we need the money up front to make this work before the viewing can happen or whatever the situation is, right? I would always advise you to speak with them and explain that that's not the way we work, can't do it that way, and try and find another way to do it. Because what you'll find is that the investor pays the money to this sourcer, they disappear with the money, and now you're in problems because you're the person that introduced them to that situation, right? So again, my whole thing is, if we're doing it the way that I'm showing you, right? Because I'm only showing you based on real experience, real transactions. You shouldn't have any of these issues. And the problem was with that person the other day that happened to. I had advised them tons of times not to take money up front, not to allow sources to get them to get their clients to pay money up front. They ignored it. They went and done it, and it happened to them. And now they are having to pay that investor back the money out of their pocket. But all they had to do was just listen to what I said, which was never do that. Right. So same situation. If you are getting all your paperwork signed and approaching it the way that I'm showing you, you won't have any of those concerns, and none of those problems will happen to you, honestly. You know, most people you're going to work with, to be honest, are honest. Yeah. They're honest, they're polite, they're reasonable. You're going to get the odd person. We're dealing with human beings. So you're going to get the odd person who isn't reasonable. But 9 out of 10 people are going to be reasonable, honest. They're going to do it the way that we would like them to do it. They're not going to try and cut you out or, you know, do anything shady. So I wouldn't worry about it. Just focus more on building relationships and making sure that you tie things up properly, which is of course paperwork and things like that. Okay, does that make sense, Mo? Okay, Jamie said, do they ask what you are charging? Do they ask what you are charging? I think I'm going to assume you mean, do the landlords ask what I'm charging the investor? Is that what you mean? Let me know if that's what you're asking, because that is a good question as well. No, they don't. I don't think I've ever had a landlord ask me what I'm charging, to be honest. Yeah, but if they did, you know, to be honest, I'd probably say I'd rather not disclose that. I'd rather not disclose it because that's a completely separate arrangement from what we're trying to agree with the landlord. And I think that's why I've never really heard of landlords asking that, because they know that. Because like I said, the landlord's not paying us anything, right? Nothing's coming out of the landlord's pocket. So it's not really their concern what we're being paid. They know they're going to get their deposit, their first month's rent, their rent every month, if whatever's been agreed. That's what they're focused on. What we earn from it is not really their concern. Now, if they had to pay us something as well, then maybe they'll be like, well, what are you getting out of this from the other side? I'm already paying you. So, but because they know we don't take anything from them, they're kind of like, okay, if you're helping me get my property filled and this guaranteed rent, you charge what you're charging. I just want to make sure I get my money and I'm happy. So yeah, but as I said, look, if someone is asking that question, you can kind of decide whether you want to give them that information or not. I probably would not, because I don't want it to cloud their judgment and make them get greedy and start, okay, well, if you're getting paid 3K, I want this and I want that. And it's kind of like, let's not blur the lines, right? My job is to find this property, do my work to make sure it fits, present the client, make sure that your property gets filled as we discussed initially, make sure my client gets their property, which is my job. And outside of that, whatever I'm being paid doesn't really matter. So I'd probably just say to them in a nice, polite, professional way, oh, I'd rather just probably not disclose that, only because I don't want things to get kind of mixed up in terms of, money being paid here and there. You just have to have that conversation. I've never had that conversation, so I don't know. But I think if it was to come up, I would just have it. I would just deal with it the way I deal with every other conversation. Honest, transparent. If I'm not happy to release that information, I would just say it. That's how you have to approach it, honestly. Okay. Sarah said, final lease being signed with landlord and us. No. So that's what I was saying, Sarah. So let me go back. Heads of terms is us, or the deal sourcer, landlord, because that's just us saying, found the opportunity, proposed it, landlord's happy with it, this is what we discussed. So that's just my way of saying, look, I've got the deal packaged formally, I've got it secured formally. The lease agreement, or the final lease, and is signed by the landlord and the investor, because it's them that's in this deal. Remember, we have nothing to do with the deal once it's sold to the investor, because we're not managing it. We're not part of the investor's company. Like, we haven't got investment in it. We are just the people that found it for them. We're just the middleman. So that it wouldn't make sense for us to sign the lease agreement because that would put us in the deal for however long they've agreed it, right? So that is signed between those two parties to actually complete the sale. Okay, does that make sense, Sarah? Just let me know in the chat. And Mo as well. Does that make sense? My response. Hope that makes sense. I'm gonna keep going whilst you guys respond. But I think so. We're all clear on pretty much everything, right? We know exactly what we should be doing in terms of setting the foundations now. Again, I didn't really want to keep using the presentation because it's messed up a little bit, but I do want to just very quickly show you the process, right? So guys, just let me know, can you still see the screen? I've zoomed out a little bit, but just to kind of let you see it in full. Can you see it? Just let me know in the chat. If not, then I'll just read it out to you again. So you should be able to still see the foundations, and then but now you should be able to see like the due diligence and the proposal and some other parts as well. Okay, cool. All right, so let's start up here. So remember, we've laid our foundations. We're in all the Facebook groups or in loads of Facebook groups. We're clear on the areas we're covering. We've built our investor list, or it's continuing to grow. We've created our network. So we've got co-sourcers that are sending us deals. We've got agents that are sending us leads for us to secure. We're now speaking to motivated landlords and developers as well. So we're securing deals directly, right? So now we need to start putting all of these pieces of the puzzle together. So I'm going to run through this very quickly. So you can see here where we have the network and we have the landlords and developers, this part of the foundation. So of course, this is where the deals are going to come from, right? So you can see here with the network, they will send us the property or the deal essentially. We will do our due diligence on it. Like I said, it's a little bit different when you're getting a deal from a co-sourcer than when you're securing it yourself, because the co-sourcer's already done the legwork, the initial legwork that you would do if you were securing it yourself. But I do still suggest looking into the numbers and communicating with the co-sourcer about it if there's anything that doesn't fit, right? But you're going to do your due diligence. Make sure that the heads of terms are signed. Now, again, it's a co-source deal, so doesn't necessarily mean your heads of terms will be signed, but it will be good to just confirm that they have something in writing with that landlord, confirming that they're happy with everything. Yeah. Once the deal is secured, then we're able to go to the next step. Now, it's the same thing with the agents. The agents aren't sending us deals, they're sending us opportunities. So landlords that potentially will go with what we're proposing. So they send us a lead. So we've got the property, we do our DD, we go back to the agent, we put forward the proposal, they speak with the landlord's happy, we get our heads of terms signed. Now the deal's secured formally. Now we can send it straight out to our investor list. Now, before I go to talking about sending it out to the investor list, let me just quickly talk about the landlords and developers part of the process as well. So it's very similar. The landlord or the developer has the property. We do our due diligence. We go back to them with the proposal, as you can see here. We get our heads of terms signed if they're happy with what we proposed, and now the deal is secured, right? So in both situations, we're basically just going through this quick process, and we want to get here where the deal is secured formally so we can send it out. So we send the deal out, and of course, there's different ways you can send the deal out, either WhatsApp, text, or email. Those are the only three ways, really, I would suggest sending the deal out. Do not send deals to your investors via Facebook. In fact, we want to get our clients away from Facebook ASAP. That's why when you send that initial message to the investors and they say they're still looking for a deal, really you're trying to get them straight on a phone call, not that second, but as soon as possible. We don't want to carry on communicating with them on the platform because we want to be able to go directly to them. So when we're sending the deal out, we're sending it WhatsApp, text, or email. We don't want to be within that noise on Facebook. There's so much noise that it's very easy for our deals to get missed. So once we've sent the deal out via any of those channels, you're going to get some investors that will respond to the message, right? So you'll deal with those people, if they're interested. We'll talk about getting to the viewings and things like that. We'll talk about that in a second. What's the most important activity is the follow-up call to the people who didn't respond. And this is the one part of the process where most deal sources are leaving money on the table. And it's actually quite scary, the difference that it makes. And again, this is something that we do in our workshop with the guys. I do follow-up calls to their investor list for them. And honestly, everybody who I do it for is always shocked, because firstly, you've got people that are hiding away from doing the calls in the first place, right? Everybody thinks that if I send the deal out in a message, surely the people that are interested will see it and respond. Or if they're not interested, they'll say they're not interested, right? So everyone assumes you send the message out and then all the responses come in and you just deal with that. But that's not the way it works. What you'll actually find is you're sending the deal out to 10 people, for example, and maybe only one responds. Usually, most deal sources will assume that the other 9 aren't interested or they're not serious, right? But what we find is every time we send the deal out, when we do the follow-up calls, which can be like within 24, 48 hours, those other 9 people didn't even see the deal. They didn't even see the message, right? Or they saw it and they were so busy that they just didn't get a chance to respond. So now we've got them on the phone. We're at this section here. We're on the follow-ups. We can, first things first, make sure they saw the deal. Hey, Ashton, how's it going? Look, yeah, got all the niceties out of the way. Well, look, it was just a quick call. I sent you a deal yesterday, or I sent you some deals yesterday, some rent-to-rent deals in Manchester, like we discussed on the first call. Did you get a chance to see them? And you're going to tell me, oh, sorry, Gary, I didn't see those. Okay, great. I've got him on the phone now. I can tell him a bit about the deals and find out, okay, does this even sound like it would be something you'd be interested in? And he'll tell me there and then. If it is, we can discuss it then. I can send him more details. I can find out so much on this call that I wouldn't have found out if I just assumed that he's not interested because he didn't respond, right? And that's him saying he didn't see the deal. Let's say he says, I did see the deal. I saw it, but you know what? I was so busy, I didn't get a chance to respond, which we hear a lot as well. No problem. Look, you got a second now? Can you have a quick chat? Yeah, got a few minutes. Perfect. I tackle everything with him on the phone there and then. Any objections, any questions? If there's no objections and he's interested, when are you free? When can I get you through the doors to see it in person? So these follow-up calls are so important. It's actually, like I said, scary the amount of people that do not utilize them. And everybody that's in the program, that if you speak to them, they'll tell you, because we have replays in the group. I've been doing follow-up calls with the guys for years, and everyone's always shocked when I do it for them on their list. People that thought, oh, I don't have a very active list, then I get on the phone and call them, and all of a sudden I've generated interest for the deals you sent out from people that you assumed would not be interested because they didn't respond, right? So very important part of the process, doing your follow-up calls. So of course, off the back of the follow-up calls, and of course, just interest that you might generate anyway, just from sending it out. Now we need to start arranging viewings because there's going to be people that are interested. So we get our NDA signed. We've already discussed the importance of NDAs. For us, we get our NDA signed with an investor and an co-sourcer if it's come from a co-sourcer. So they have to sign that before we book any viewings in. Once it's signed, we get the viewings booked. We send the client to go and view it themselves. The landlord, the agent, the tenant, if it's tenanted, the co-sourcer, if he's the person that's going to do the viewings, whoever is at the property, they will host the viewing for us, right? So the viewing goes ahead, and then usually straight after the viewing, we'll speak with the client to find out how it went, what they thought, and that's when we get our offers. Oh, actually, Gary, went well. Property is what you said it is, what it looked like in the pictures and the videos. I want to go for it. We get the offer verbally, usually on the phone there and then, and I ask them to send a formal offer in writing as well. So I've got it in writing. Once I've received the offer, I can go straight back to my landlord or co-sourcer or agent, again, depending where the deal came from, and present my offer. Get the offer agreed, hopefully, right? And this all happens very quickly. Like I said, if the investor views today, I'm speaking with him today after the viewing to find out. So in most cases, he'll make the offer that day, and I'll present the offer that day. And maybe by the next day, we'll find out a little bit more about what the landlord thinks. But either way, very quickly, offers are being put in and offers are being accepted. And then it's just a case of the sales process. Now, we are dealing with rent to rent specifically. You'll notice I haven't mentioned any other type of deals. Of course, as a deal sourcer, there's tons of deals you could sell. But in my experience, rent to rent is the only type of deal that you can complete within days. Literally. Every other type of deal you will try and do will take you months. You know, buy to lets are going to take you months. I was an agent for a while, and as a deal sourcer, I've sold buy to let deals, and I don't think a deal has taken me any less than 3 months ever on those type of deals. I've had deals that have taken 12 months, you know, 12 months. So these deals all take way longer than a rent to rent. It's the only type of deal. And of course, that's because with a rent to rent, there's no purchase of the property involved. So no one's actually buying that property. So the turnaround time is super quick. It's one document that everyone's signing, very straightforward. And that's what allows deal sources to get these deals done and dusted with in a matter of days if they're doing everything right. Right. So very important that you understand how to make that process work, right? And again, I've spoken about having the right foundations in place, but it's also important to make sure that the process is flowing smoothly as well. You know, there's certain nuances, there's certain things you have to do. I think I mentioned about, you know, staying in contact with your network. You know, this isn't going to work if you just have those initial conversations with them and just leave them all sitting on a list and never speak to them again. If you're lucky, you're going to have some proactive people in your network that might remember to reach out to you, or they add you to a list so you're in the loop. But in most cases, you have to be the hunter. You have to go out there and remind them that you're in the business, remind them that you have clients that are ready to take on these properties, and then they'll start providing those opportunities for you. So super important that the sales process is done in a correct way. Yeah. Is everyone clear on that? Does the process make sense? Is there anything you need me to go back over? Let me just make sure I'm not missing any questions. Yes? Okay, brilliant. Ashton said yes. Linda, yes. Sarah, yes. Okay. Okay, brilliant. Right. So that is pretty much the process, right? Let me just scroll down. Hopefully, the rest of the presentation is still okay. So, like I mentioned, and please, guys, please try not to touch the screen now. Let's try and keep it nice and tidy. So, as I mentioned, or hopefully I mentioned, we're operating these businesses 100% remotely. We're not meeting anyone. We're not having to be anywhere specifically. We can do this from anywhere, from wherever we want. So, and I'll just show you a few more examples. I know I've shown you a bunch already, but we have here Charlie. So I think I show Charlie's the gentleman who done 40K in the first 5 months of him joining and still hitting 10K months now. But just as another example, this was while he was on holiday. And he was saying, look, selling deals while on holiday, this is what running your own sourcing business looks like if you're committed and put in the work. No excuses. I'd just been paid for a deal sold whilst I was in Florida. And this is the 3K. You can see he's got the screenshot there. So crazy. I've experienced this tons of times, but when I see other people doing it, it's amazing to see. And we have loads of examples like this. So it's 100% remote. And I just wanted to show you that so you can see, look, we've got D here as well. This is one of the deals she sold. Look, good morning, Gary. I'm good, thank you. Right now I'm at a beach party in Portugal and I have a co-sourcer closing my deal for me. I think they signed the contract last night. I just need to remind them to credit my account later on today, which they did. I think I showed the example of one of those above, right? And then we also had Rabbi, who's actually on the call right now. And just wanted to let you know that I followed your teachings and sold a deal yesterday with £3,550 in the bank. Rent to SA in Cardiff, and I'm based in London. And I spoke with Rabbi after the sale, and again, 100% remote. He did not visit the property or meet anyone. And as you can see, £3,000 was banked. And we literally have hundreds of these examples. Me myself, I've been on holiday in Dubai, sold multiple deals. I've been at many places and deals have still happened. Whether I started the sale before I left and it continued whilst I was abroad, or whether the sale was literally started whilst I'm abroad, where someone in my network has sent me a deal. Gal, have you got someone that could, that'd be interested in this? I shoot a quick message out to the list. I jump on a call with whoever's interested, and all of a sudden I'm arranging viewings. This is while I'm abroad, right? And if that person takes that deal, I did not have to be there. I could have been anywhere in the world as long as I could speak to them and speak to the person on the other side. And that is why this strategy is so powerful. It also, of course, works even better for the people who are working full time, right? So I think, when people think about things being 100% remote, yes, it's very easy to think about, going on holiday and the nice things and the lifestyle that you can do, because you can do the deals from wherever. But I think it's good to be practical and think realistic as well, starting from where you are. So for those of you who are working full time, this is the type of business that you can operate. A lot of those examples above I showed you, they're people that are working full time whilst getting those results, which you guys know what you're earning from your jobs. If you're earning that and earning what you're seeing these guys do, it's ridiculous. It's a significant income, right? So that's another benefit of it being 100% remote, is that because you don't have to be anywhere physically, you can operate this whilst you still operate your full-time job, right? I say to the guys, if you can set aside an hour or two per day for this, whether that's in the evening when you get home from work, or some of the people do it in the morning before they go to work, or like I said, you've got people that are doing it whilst they're at work. As long as you can send the text or do the odd phone call, send the email, you can operate this as long as you can communicate. So it is very, very powerful. And of course, once you get it to a certain level, you will leave the job. And then you have even more time to put into this. So this is a really, really lucrative opportunity. I think I mentioned earlier, I think so many people are realizing now how easy it is to get into the deal sourcing business. Doesn't mean it's easy to start getting results if you don't, especially if you don't know what you're doing, but to just become a deal sourcer, there's not really any barriers to entry, right? Um, so because of that, there's a lot of people coming on board and starting. So you want to get involved, take full advantage. This strategy is tried and tested. So if you're going to follow what I've shown you, you can very, very quickly start getting results. I think I've shown you more than enough examples of that. Actually, whilst I even asked that question, because I know some of you guys started joining groups and stuff like that, did anybody actually start sending messages to investors whilst we've been talking? That would be great to hear if anyone started doing that. Anyone send any messages to investors? And if you did you get any responses? If you didn't, it's fine. Like I said, we've had some examples and masterclasses before where people have done it live whilst I'm talking, and have literally been like, I think like the first masterclass I'd done, which may have been about a year and a bit ago, I done a competition on that one. So I kind of got everyone to get involved, send the messages to investors, and like try and do it as I'm explaining it. And we done a competition. The guy who won it, a gentleman named Rob, ended up getting 20 investors to respond to him. But he was just relentless. I think he sent like 50 messages whilst I was talking. I didn't even realize he was doing that in the background. He was like listening to me, but firing the messages out at the same time. And he got like 20 people responded to him, and that was people that ended up being, some of those people ended up being clients that he sold deals to. So it is very powerful. If you didn't do it now, that's fine. Definitely give it a go, in your own time when you get a chance. It works, guys. I'm not sure what else I could show you to show you that it works. It's straightforward. There's no rocket science behind it. You just have to do it, and of course, approach these people the right way, and you'll see the amount of value you get just from starting those conversations. Okay, let me make sure I'm not missing any more questions. Oh, Ashton said yes. Okay, you did send some messages. Okay, I thought you said no. Sorry, I'm just seeing this. So and Linda as well. Okay, so you guys sent some messages out. No responses though, not yet. Nobody got any responses yet, and I'm assuming you guys sent written messages, because I can see Ashton on the camera, and I didn't see you sending voice notes. And Linda, those were written. Okay. Okay. How many did you send out of interest? Roughly 5. Okay. All right. Cool. Keep sending them. By the way, that's something to touch on. doesn't matter what time of night you message these people, by the way, because it's social media. It's different than sending them a text at 10 at night or trying to call them at 10 at night. With social media, people will log on or log off based on when they are happy to interact with it. So you're messaging them now. If they're okay with receiving messages, they'll go in and they'll read the message. But if there's someone who doesn't read messages, you know, or doesn't even go on social media in the evening, for example, that's fine. They'll read it tomorrow or the day after and they'll come back to you. But the main thing is you're getting the messages out. 5 is good. You heard we get 50 out a day. I'm pretty sure, I know, in fact, I definitely did put the video in the free group where I done an exercise sharing my screen and I found 50 investors in 15 minutes. So it just shows you, and that's normal. That's like, once you're comfortable with the process, that is the type of numbers, that's how quickly you should be doing it. This isn't an exercise that should take all day. It should be a very quick process. You know, you're going in, you're firing those messages. So if you're writing the messages, the only thing that should take you time is when you go in and paste. So you write it once, you copy it, and every person that you're messaging, the only thing you're changing is their name. That's it. Because remember, you should only be messaging the people in your areas. So if your area is Manchester and that's your only area, then you know you're only messaging Manchester people. So you can write that one message. Hey, how's it going, Ashton? I just saw I saw you comment on a rent-to-rent deal in Manchester. You still looking for deals like that at the moment? I copy that and then I can send it to everyone. I send it to Linda. I changed the name. Hey, Linda, how's it going? Same thing. I send it to Sarah. I changed the name. I press send. Kathleen, changed the name. Send. So it's a very straightforward process. You want to get it to the point where you're getting those messages out really quickly. Don't let it take too long. Yeah. And like I said, don't worry about the responses. They will come. You know, don't sit and wait for the responses. Keep sending the videos, sending the messages out aggressively, right? If you can, maybe do it based on time. So set aside an hour, half an hour, and send as many messages as you can in that time. That's another way you could do it. But either way, have to send the messages out. Yeah. Okay. Linda said, "Will you share that video, please?" Yeah, it's in the group, Linda. But if you shoot me a message, just reminding me on school, then I will go and find it when we get off, and I'll send it straight over to you. Okay, no problem. But if you just want to go through a good way, guys, for you to find all of the videos that I've posted in the group, because I've posted actually quite a lot. If you go into the school group and you just press on my name on my profile, so you're in the group, you press on my name, it will literally show you everything I've posted in the group. It will just come up with like all of my contributions to the group, which is like my posts and my comments, responses, and you can just scroll through and see everything I've posted, literally. And that video will be in there. But of course, if you'd rather me just send it to you, no problem. Just shoot me a message on school and I will just send it over. Okay, brilliant. Okay, quick question, because I know, again, time's ticking. Who believes that they can do this with my guidance and my support based on what I've shown you? Of course, there's loads more that I can show you. You know, people who join the program, they always say to me, you know, with what you showed in the free lesson, I knew there must be more, right? Because you gave away so much in the free. So just based on what I've shown you enough for you to understand what can be done and kind of how to do it. But of course, there's always nuances and little things that happen behind the scenes that, you know, you have to also understand how to overcome when those issues arise, if they arise, those obstacles. So who believes that they could actually do this with my support? I'm just want to see who I should continue the presentation for. Let me have a look. So Hugh said, how do you remember all the names you've sent to? All the names, all the investor names? Is that what you mean? Let me know, Hugh. I don't need to remember their names because their names are there. Then when I go in and I message them, I can see their name. So I don't really need to remember their names, right? And I can you're in this is the good thing about Facebook as well. Like I said, once you send the message, it's not going anywhere unless you delete it. So you can literally use your messenger as sort of a reminder. So let's say, for example, you found someone in the comment section in terms of the investors, you sent them that initial message, and then they didn't respond straight away. It took a couple of weeks or whatever. But at that time, you were still looking for more people to message, and maybe you stumbled across that same person again without realizing, right? They were in another comment section, so you go to message them. Well, this is the good thing about Facebook. When you go to message that person, you will see in the messenger that you've messaged them already. So that's your visual reminder there that, oh, okay, I've already reached out to this person. And you could either not send them another message or send them a follow-up, or right, but you'll be able to see clear as day who you've messaged, what you messaged them, and what their names are. So there's not really a way for you to get confused. And then if we're talking about after that, once you've added them as a client, well, you're going to put them in your CRM or your spreadsheet. So you'll have a list of everyone that's in your list. And again, you'll have everyone's name there, so you'll know who's who. Okay, so again, it's just about structure and kind of having a system in place. It makes things so much easier for you. Being honest, I wouldn't even want to try and remember everyone's name just off the top of my head. So having it in those places just makes life easier. Okay. Okay, so Linda said yes. Rose, Hugh, Ashton, Hugh. Okay, all right, perfect. So let me just quickly run you guys through how I could potentially help you. Again, like I said, all of the information I've given you on here, you could literally start to implement straight away, and start getting results with it really quickly. Now, you noticed I asked the question, who believes they can do it, but also with my help and my support. So everybody that I showed you above, all of the guys that have got those results, and if you're going to take the time to go through the win section on the program, the free group, and just scroll through my Facebook group to see those hundreds of others, similar results or better, you will see that these are people that have all come from this program. I only have one program, by the way, guys. So I know there's usually mentors have like 5 different programs. This one costs this one costs that, this gets that. I don't have any of that. I have one program. This is the same program I launched 3 years ago, and all of those 150 plus people have come through and got those results with. So it's the same program. It's the 6-figure deal sourcer program, the #1 rent to rent deal sourcing program community. We have the best results in the industry. That's like facts now. I would say that's mainly because, again, we offer a different level of support and interaction with the people that join the membership. So the price for the program is £3,000, so 2,995. But as you can see here, it's actually striked out because we're offering a 25% discount at the moment. But before I go into the discount, I always like to explain why I have priced the program at this price, because a lot of people have spoken to me over the past few months, for example, about the crazy prices they have paid to join some of these programs. I think I posted about a few of them this week. I had a lady tell me she just paid £6,000 to join a program a few months ago, and she hasn't made a penny back. I had another gentleman tell me he just paid 12 grand. He's in debt now. And I asked him how much money he's made using what he learned on that program. Zero, right? So absolutely crazy. And when you ask why it was priced at that amount, usually they can't tell you. So I have priced this program at 3K simply based on the price we're selling our deals for. So as you guys have seen, you know, we on the odd occasion we're selling our deals for maybe 2,500 if we want to give them a little discount. But the price of these deals are £3,000. We're selling them for £3,000 day in, day out, as you just saw. So for me, it made sense to say, okay, I'm going to charge it at 3K to join the program, so that all they have to do is sell one deal and they've made their money back. That's it. You sell one deal, you've made your money back, right? As you've seen from everyone above, I don't think there's one example above where they've only sold one deal. Everybody has sold multiple deals and are selling multiple deals per month. So again, you can see that there's a certain amount of value that this program brings, and I've kept the price this low. I say that to say that we are actually increasing the price, right? Because of the amount of value that we've provided over the 3 years, and the fact that I've kept it at 3K literally for 3 years. I should have increased it a long time ago, but I think especially after this year, we've absolutely crushed it. Like some of the examples, I've only shown you a couple above, but the type of money people are making using this program, the support, the information, the resources, the network, the community, the documents, everything that comes with it. I truly believe that keeping it at 3K is actually undervaluing it. So I'm going to be increasing the price to 6K. And again, let me explain why. I'm now looking at it as, okay, we've proven hundreds of times over that we can get people to sell one deal, right? We've like that happens, almost without any effort now. We've also proven that we can get people to sell two deals and of course more than two deals. But I'm pricing it at 6K because the guarantee is that we will get you to at least sell the two deals like we did with the one deal, right? Very confident that we can do that. So that is going to be the price moving forward, coming up to Christmas. By the time we go into 2025, it will already be changed. Currently, it is still at the 3K. And for yourselves joining this masterclass, you also have the 25% discount offer. So you would actually only be paying 2,246. That's a one-time payment. It's lifetime access. So once you're in, you have access to everything. There are no upsells. There are no add-ons. There are no come in, pay, and then if you want more information, pay more. Once you're in, and you have access to everything immediately. That includes the six-figure deal sources step-by-step guides. So we have written guides. We also have video guides, very in detail, very in depth. If you think what I've shown you today is in detail, I mean, this is, one document on the screen that I've ran through with you guys being, if we're being honest. In the program, the guides are actually screen shares. So we're going through Facebook step by step. We're going through Google. We're going through the websites, the different platforms. We're showing you exactly how we're having conversations, what we're saying, why we're saying it, where we're saying it. So we're literally showing you everything. You're almost just looking over my shoulder, basically, as I'm operating the business. So you have all of those guides in written and video form. You have 24/7 real-time support. A lot of people have told me about 24/7 support being offered in other groups, but it's not really 24/7 support. You might get some help here and there. I believe this is the only program with real 24/7 support, as in you ask a question anytime and me or my team will respond to you 24/7. Doesn't matter the time of day. As I'm sitting here having this masterclass with you guys, I literally have my phone next to me. I'm seeing it going off with the guys asking questions, updating on sales, etc., and the team in there responding. We actually had a group call actually happened today whilst I was on this masterclass with you. So everything continues to tick, super, super hands-on. So that's real-time 24/7 support, including Q&A and deal analysis. You also have daily check-in / accountability calls, and that is from Monday to Friday every week, right? So again, usually you join a program, you might get one call a week, a couple of calls a month. In this program, you get a call every single day. And again, I honestly believe that the 24/7 support and the daily check-in / accountability calls is the reason why we're getting such good results. It's because people actually have somebody to lean on every day. Usually you learn something in a program or course, you're given the info and you're sent out there to figure it out. And yes, you can tap in every now and then to get help if need be. But I modeled this a little bit differently, where I thought, okay, how I want it to work is almost as though I'm your business partner working with you. So we literally are working together every day, 24/7, but I just don't take a percentage of what you make. That's it, you know? And I think that's made a huge difference for people. So you've got your daily check-in calls, you have the weekly workshops. So I think I explained earlier about us doing our call-out sessions to investors, agents, landlords every week. We usually do our follow-up calls to investors on a Tuesday because our afternoon call, that's when we do our afternoon call. And usually deals are sent out on the Monday after them coming in from the network. So we like to stay in contact, but we do that live and they're recorded so you can listen back and kind of hear how the calls were handled, right? Again, hugely valuable. We also have access to the Six-Figure Deal Sourcer members only community. So we have 100 plus active deal sources in the group, selling deals, making money. You've just seen a couple of the examples. I would have you in that community actively doing deals with these guys and be in a position to start selling straight away. Okay. That also gives you access to our in-house deals. So we actually have a section of our program where all of the guys are able to upload the deals they're securing, and then that gives other people in the group that may not be at the stage that they're at where they're securing deals yet, but have a list, to be able to sell deals to their list very quickly without them having to secure the deals themselves. So again, that's the reason why a lot of people have sold their first deals really quickly. I mean, I showed you near enough everybody in that list I just showed you sold their first deal within the first 4 weeks of joining, right? And that's because, as well as having the support, having the know-how, they had access to a network, a real network that's actually selling deals straight away. The minute they're in the program, they have access to those people, right? So again, a huge amount of value. And as I explained earlier, every single document that you need to take a rent-to-rent deal from A to Z, super, super important. You need to have the right paperwork. I hear it all the time, people struggling to get deals done. Gary, where do I get the right paperwork for this and for that? And they're kind of like trying to pull bits and pieces from all over the place. Once you're in the program, you have everything all there for you in one place. You have the full package. There is nothing else that you will need for your business once you are in this program. Everything is provided for you, including the support, right? So that is what we are offering currently. I've chucked in a bonus. So of course, the Six Figure Deal Sourcer program has always been a group program. You know, the group calls are the daily calls are group calls. You know, it's a group setting. But for this offer, I have also chucked in one-to-one support calls as well. So they're VIP coaching calls. I don't do one-to-one calls at the moment. Again, if you speak to all of these guys that are selling deals, they'll tell you it wasn't from one-to-one. It was actually jumping on the calls, asking Gary the questions with other people on the call as well. But what I did find is that when I did switch to adding some one-to-one calls in there, people got extra value, and actually it accelerated people's results. I think there was a few examples above, like Marhen, who talked about the one-to-one support since him joining and what difference it made. He was one that sold that first deal in 3 weeks. So this is huge amounts of value that we're chucking in, again, at the 25% discount. This is only for the people that are joining today. Again, like I said, the price is going to go back to the 3K and will actually be doubling before Christmas. So this is your last opportunity to grab it at this price. It will never go back to this price again. Just being completely honest with you, the amount of value that we're providing, the amount of results that are coming out of the program over and over and over again, even up to yesterday with Rabbi. And actually, like I said, I'm seeing conversations that are happening in the program right now as we're on this call. More sales are happening. So the value is going to continue to increase. And of course, the price has to follow, you know. So any questions actually before I wrap things up? For anyone who's interested in joining the program, show of hands, is there anybody that's interested and had any extra questions or anything like that? Anything I didn't cover? I can see some people are sending me direct messages. No worries, I will respond. But is there anyone that had any questions you wanted me to answer out in the open? Robinson said, sorry, what's the price? Okay, so I'll go over the price again. So the program cost is £3,000. That's the original price. That's what the price has always been. I've chucked in a 25% discount as we're coming up to Christmas. So it will be £2,246. That gives you lifetime access to the program. Once you're in, you're in. There is no upsell. There is no extras you need to purchase. You get access to everything immediately. As you can see as well, guys, I don't think I spoke about it, but there is also a payment plan option. But of course, that does not come with the discount and lifetime access. That is you paying monthly. So there is also that option. It's a cancel anytime option. And again, like I said, it comes with a ton of value, step-by-step guides that break everything down in great detail with the screen shared, so you can literally see everything. Rather than me just explaining it to you, I'm actually showing it to you step by step with the screen shared. 24/7 real-time support, daily support calls. So every day, Monday to Friday, we do a call. So you're able to either ask a question in the group or send it to me direct, or jump on a phone call with me and we go over it in even more detail. The weekly workshops, we do call out sessions to investors, agents, landlords, co-sourcers, anybody we need to speak to. Again, this is just to kind of help you get comfortable with the process, hear how I handle my calls, And you can kind of take bits and pieces from it. People have always told me they find great value from the live calls because, again, you can do a role play or, you know, kind of talk about it in theory, but I honestly believe the best way for you to learn is to actually hear real calls, you know, whether you're taking them yourself or you're hearing me do them. So we do those every week. And again, you have access to all of the community, all of my network within the community, all of the deals that are posted within the community, which are exclusive deals. We post them there before they go anywhere else. You have access to them straight away. And also every single document that you would need to take a deal from A to Z, which of course is very important. So huge amounts of value. Okay. And a few people have said interested. Oh no, Ashton said and interested, but at a later date. No problem, Ashton. Keep me posted. Like I said, I can't promise the price will be the same, but you know, listen, you reach out and we'll see what the situation is at the time. Robinson said I need it, but I can't afford this payment now. We have a payment plan. Yes, the payment plan is just there. So I don't know what your first name is, so I keep saying O Robinson, but the payment plan is just there. It works out at $760 per month, and you can cancel anytime. But of course, you don't get the benefit of the lifetime access, so it's a month by month. But the option is there. So if you want more information, just let me know. I'll send it over to you. And all of the guys that are sending me DMs asking for more info, I will send it to you as soon as I get off the call. Like I said, this will be only available for today in terms of the exclusive one-to-one calls as well. So reach out, ask questions. If you'd like to book a one-to-one call prior to making your decision, a one-to-one strategy call, let me know. I'll shoot you over the link and we can jump on and go over anything else that maybe you're unsure about. Okay. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I genuinely hope you took some value from it. Sincere apologies about the presentation. And yeah, I just appreciate your patience. Okay. Any other questions before we wrap it up? Just let me know in the chat. Last questions. Ashton said, I'm going to use what you have given us and get paid, then pay for the course. Okay, brilliant. Many have done that, actually. We've had a few people do that. Okay. Okay, brilliant. Thanks, guys. Robert. Thanks, Robert, Ashton, Linda. Brilliant. All right, guys, look, I'm going to love you and leave you. Like I said, this is recorded, so the replay should either be up tonight or maybe tomorrow at the latest. So feel free to watch over it again. In terms of the qualifying questions, I know a few of you have already sent me a DM. I can see them popping up. But if you didn't and you want me to send it over, send me a DM ASAP and I'll send you over those qualifying questions. Other than that, thank you so much. Have a great evening. Let me last quick scroll to make sure I haven't missed any questions. Okay, cool. I haven't missed anyone. Brilliant. Guys, thank you so much. Have an amazing evening. I'll catch you inside the group, okay? Thank you.